which really will open doors, as you all know, to people. Digital inclusion is something we've been working pretty hard on here in Kansas City. And I know it can sound like a slogan, but technology, particularly digital inclusion, is really part of the fabric of the infrastructure of the 21st century. It sounds like we think the digital world is cutting edge and futuristic and full of inventions, but the reality is it's not. It is really the current infrastructure. If you're not connected, then you're going to have problems, and those problems will increase. It's critical to a community's strength and its growth and to its success. So as cities, we want our economies to provide an opportunity for every family. We want our children to have the best education possible, or residents want services that are delivered at the highest and most efficient quality and level. We have to be connected to the infrastructure of digital and of the digital infrastructure. If we aren't, then things are going to be much more difficult in terms of efficiency. That's a big portion of our community. 1 in 3 Kansas Cityans are not connected to internet. They do not have internet access in their homes. In a survey we conducted a few years ago, 30% of the residents said or were without internet at home, and said it was because of cost, whether it was the hardware or the computers or the services themselves. And more than 40% of the people who didn't go online said it was because it wasn't relevant to their lives. Now, I'm tied to the internet, and I'm sure all of you are as well. It's absolutely relevant in our life. This isn't really about bells and whistles or apps and touchscreens and flying cars. It's really about really basic things like accessing public transit routes and schedules, and knowing about delays and changes, connecting to government agencies and services, being able to pay bills online or monitor your bank account without ever having to go to a bank, creating a resume, searching for jobs. There's a lot of companies anymore that won't even advertise for jobs except on the internet. They won't accept resumes except online. The technology that's portable today can help in connecting families and keeping them in touch. And there's another vital reason why we really have to work to gain access and training in digital infrastructure. A study came out recently that showed these days that 76% of all U.S. students are regularly assigned homework and needs to be done on a computer, a tablet, or an online-based program. In Kansas City, though, Kansas City Public Schools, one of the 14 school districts in Overland Park, Kansas City, the studies have shown that 70% of those students don't have internet access at home. So what do? You see them sometimes going to the grocery store. You see them sometimes getting to school early, sitting out in front before the school is actually open so that they can access Wi-Fi and get their work done. So learning is moving online, and for the kids that we are raising and the ones that we will be relying on to make sure Social Security still works, we need to make sure that they're hooked up and computer and digitally literate. It's not really a good or a bad thing, it's simply the reality of where things are anymore. And we all know it. We all know it. A lot of us were old enough to remember when there weren't such things as cell phones. Everything was tied to a wall. Look at what's changed in just a very short period of time. Look at how rapidly it's changing now. So we never want our kids to be able to be caught behind a wall that they can't get around because we weren't doing the things necessary for them when they were in school to make sure that they had access to the internet, that they were computer literate, so that they could compete in an increasingly technological world. So today we're really excited to have an opportunity to share with you a little bit about the work we're doing here in Kansas City and why we think it's important for cities to embrace this digital age and to embrace our responsibility as governments to help our residents get and stay connected, learn what to do and how to use it when they get there. In March, we unveiled the Digital Equity Strategic Plan, a plan that addresses the digital divide and charts pathways for us to become more digitally equitable. That plan requires a continuous commitment from the city manager, the city council, and me. It requires continued partnership with our digital inclusion coalition, as well as others in the city and around the nation who are interested in digital equity. The Digital Equity Plan has 6 major components. The first, use of the internet for broadband access, computing devices, and digital literacy. Second, use of the internet for the learner, education, lifelong learning, and distance learning. Use of the internet for the digital citizen, access to the civic and civic tech. Use of the internet for employment, computer technical skills, workforce training, and distance working. Use of the internet for the entrepreneur, business creation, job creation, and home-based businesses. And digital collaboration around access to the internet, sharing and participating in digital equity strategies, both locally, regionally, and nationally. So we know what it takes to make a strategic approach to applying the resources in order to achieve those goals. The digital equity strategic plan is an opportunity for the city to lead on this issue and address the needs of our residents. 56% of the residents earning less than $30,000 do not have access to the internet, whether it's because of cost problems or lack of hardware availability. That number drops to nearly 50% when you look at minority residents earning less than 30% of the year. Which is why our participation in the Connect Home initiative was absolutely fundamental to our efforts to connect residents and living in public housing to the internet. Connect Home focused their efforts on 9 public housing properties reaching more than 1,300 families in the metropolitan area here. So I'd like to encourage you strongly here today to explore the opportunities presented by Connect Home, and if you're eligible to apply for its iteration, then you will be able to access the resources that may not be currently available. If you have any questions about Connect Home that we've been doing here or any place, please don't hesitate to contact my Director of Policy, McClain Bryant. Stand McClain, please. Or Assistant City Manager, Usher. Rick.
Thanks.
So these two really have been essential to what we've been doing with digital equity in town and digital inclusion. We've done a tremendous job and made us look good in the process. So as you're going through today and listening, I hope that you'll find some things that you can use. Don't hesitate to ask us any questions. Don't hesitate to chime in and participate in the discussions. And I'm going to bring up McClain so that you can introduce the next panel or the panel. But I want to recognize Crosby Kimber. Crosby is the man here at the library, in the library system. He has done tremendous work here with digital inclusion. He's been a partner from day one. He's worked his tail off to make sure that we are getting access to people who need hardware and people who need digital literacy, including kids. And Crosby, thank you for your efforts and thank you for having us in your library today. Thank you.
Good morning. Again, I'm Bryant, the Mayor's Policy Director. So if you need anything throughout the morning, just let me know. When you all walked in, you should have received a binder full of information. It's not necessary that you follow along the binder as you go, but it's just resources for you to take home and look at your leisure. At this time, I'd like to call up our first panel and the moderators.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is Scott Allen. I'm the Deputy Director of the Public Library Association based in Chicago, for Division of the American Library Association. And I am so thrilled to be here. We are so excited that Missouri is taking the step to convene this meeting. I think you all know that public libraries for many years have been a driving force in trying to get broadband access and internet use into their communities, both by helping the library itself have access, having computer labs and devices that can be loaned out, so people have technology, but also in terms of training people to use computers and technology, develop their digital literacy skills, not just so they can use the technology, but so that they can ultimately get to that goal that they started with, which is getting a job, helping your child become connecting with friends and family. So public libraries are very supportive of this, both through the Public Library Association and our Washington office, which has the Office for Information Technology Policy. And we're thrilled to be here and be standing in a public library while we talk about these issues. Our panel is the Relevancy Tools and Data panel, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means in a second. But first, I'm going to have my panelists introduce themselves so that they can tell you a little bit about what their organization does as well. So Want to start? Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Doug Gray. It's great to be here. Thanks to you guys for inviting me. It's especially good to be back in Kansas City, Akers, so it's nice to be back home. I'm now based in Washington, D.C. I work for the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation. We're a small, nonprofit, nonpartisan research and education institution, and we work to sort of formulate, promote public policies in D.C., in the states, and internationally that we think will advance innovation. Really, innovation that we care about that drives productivity growth and helps grow the economy. So, some respect for that. I'm grateful today.
Everyone, I'm Bobby Thompson. I work for Xaqt. We built a smart city intelligence platform. We do a lot of data science predictive learning for cities, including Kansas City. And I'm welcome.
Good morning, Veronica, Creech, Chief Program Officer with everyone on. Everyone's a national nonprofit located in Washington, D.C. We do have regional managers across the country. Since our inception in 2012, we've helped connect more than 500 million people to the internet. And our mission and our goal in life really is to create economic and social opportunities by connecting people online at home. Our organization has set the law to go with 1 million votes by 2020.
And I'm Chris Mitchell with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance in Minneapolis. We focus on a variety of things around local governments and communities. You know, strong local economies and also strongly believe in local political authority to make decisions. Where I work on internet, I'm mostly known for my work with municipal networks, although we're recently working with cooperative networks as well, electric and telephone cooperatives that are building large rural networks. So I'm pretty familiar with the nonprofit business models for extending high-quality internet access. And within my capacity at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, I'm also the policy director for Next Century Cities. Unfortunately, the head of Next Century Cities is supposed to be here, but she's not able to make it. So I'll just briefly say it's an organization of about 170 cities that are working together, sharing information, and jointly figuring out how to make sure everyone in the community has higher quality internet access.
Great, thank you. We have an incredible wealth of knowledge sitting in these chairs right here, and I'm sure that there are organizations that are doing great things that you will be able to take advantage of. So please try to remember these names. They're all available to you as well as the American Library Association for help after this session. So when you hear things, jot them down and follow up with us, please. We're not going to have time in 45 minutes to cover everything that we really want to cover. So what are we going to cover? Today we're going to talk a little bit about the relevancy and why it's important to bring high-speed broadband and internet access into your communities, which Mayor already touched on, so we're not going to spend too much time on that, but we want to make sure to make the case for you. We're going to talk about data. We're going to talk about where in Missouri broadband access exists now, what are the different ways you can look at data, and how you can use some tools when you go back to your communities to figure out what your needs are. And then we're also going to talk about tools on 3 different levels. One is to bring broadband into your community. Another is to get community members to sign up and use it. And the third is to make sure you're using it effectively through digital literacy training and helping them really understand how to get what they need out of their internet access. So we're going to try and make this a little bit of a discussion. My panelists have some great back and forth that they can do. So hopefully you bear with us. We'll have some time for questions at the end. But the first discussion topic we want to talk about is relevancy. So I'm going to turn it over to Veronica to talk a little bit about that.
Great. So I'm going to share with everyone on. Everyone on is a national nonprofit. This year, just with the goal of reaching 1 million people online by 2020. The way we do that is work basically in 3 ways. We created a best-in-class online platform that's zip code driven. So you get everyone on that platform, you know your zip code, what you'll learn about are what low-cost offers are available to you in your zip code. You'll learn about low-cost devices and resources for digital literacy training. In our library, ALA and the American Library Association is a big partner there. So you'll, in Kansas City, you'll see your library listed. And other resources like Connecting for Good in this area to help folks strengthen digital literacy skills. The second way that we work to connect folks online is with our feet on the street. So we have 5 regional managers across the country. We have some sort of in the Carolinas, we have some in the Northeast, Florida, California. But if any state approaches us or asks us for support in creating their digital literacy plans, we deploy folks to support communities thinking through the very places where you guys find yourselves, looking at connecting the residents as well. And then the third is having a national voice. And also our Feet on the Street is a collection of more than 600 what we call enrollment partners, the local nonprofits that's part of their mission to get folks online. So Boys and Girls Clubs, schools, other nonprofits, folks who work to help folks understand and have access online. We also, I'll talk about in a minute, oh, I forgot that we're actually scrolling. Sorry. So here's to tell us more about what we're doing, who we are. We can keep going, I'm sorry. And the reason that this matters, so we have the folks on this, our enrollment partners helping us on the streets as well. And then you can think, wow, there's a lot of folks, a lot of organizations working to get people online. And the reason so many people care about this is you are well aware, more than 7 million, 65 million people are connected. More than 80% of students need the internet to do their homework. And as the mayor shared earlier, the number of job applications online is 90%, and that grows every day. The statistic we don't have yet that we're looking for is the number of public benefits programs that are enrollment or recertification are moving online. And that's a number that is going to shock all of us when we finally nail that down. In California, for example, is the largest staff benefits program in the country. Overnight, they're moving their staff benefits enrollment and recertification online. And they know that they have more than 70% of their recipients without access to the internet. And then some more on the positive side, you think about, okay, so what the opportunity the internet brings, if I have opportunity for internet at home, students with internet at home were 7% more likely to graduate high school than their peers who did not have internet at home. The internet connectivity on average allowed the healthcare system to save about $3,300 a year. With folks who have connectivity in home, that comes in the form of telehealth, telemedicine, and preventative care, where I learn more about myself by online resources. And if unemployed, a person who has internet at home will find work about 7 weeks faster than someone without internet at home, allowing them about $5,000 more income in that year.
Great. So I think there are clearly benefits. I don't think we want to dwell too much on that. I think any of our organizations are happy to help provide you more details on that. You need to make a case at the community level if you want more to drill down into some of those statistics. But clearly, it's important for communities and individuals to have internet access, and things are just moving in that direction very quickly. I think Veronica touched on sort of healthcare. We envision a lot more going in that direction that will save the healthcare industry a lot of money if people are at home helping monitor their own conditions rather than going into doctor's offices. So there's a lot of relevant uses for the internet and for broadband access in communities. So what we'd like to talk about now a little bit is the data and move on to kind of the state and local community picture and how you can look at data differently in terms of where internet broadband access is in your community and how you can get the data you need to make plans moving forward. So again, I'm going to turn it over to Veronica first to talk a little bit about some different cities in the state, and then Christopher and Bobby that are all going to chime in a little bit after that. We do not have them. We can make sure you get these. The slides are not in your packet.
Okay, so we'll walk it over, but you can see took 3 cities on the list that so they were going to be here today. And I used the American Community Survey, so that's a really resourceful data set that can help you understand what the demographics of your communities look like. ACS. So, for example, in Independence, Missouri, we see that 27% of the population is unconnected. And one of my colleagues this morning asked me about, is it unconnected because someone did not have the internet in their home, or they don't have access to the option to have internet. They don't want to say for sure. I believe it's these 27% homes are unconnected, and I don't know if it's by choice or infrastructure, so I don't want to misrepresent what that looks like. And then 28% of the households lack home computer access, and then 19% of the population with at least a bachelor's degree. You can see a correlation between the education, more education in the community, we observe more connectivity. So I just want to point that out. If you go to the next 2 communities, in Kansas City, these are the numbers, 25%, 16, and 33. And then in Lee Summit, the percent unconnected is lower as we see the education being higher. I don't know if it's scientific or not, but we definitely saw that trend when looking at the communities across Missouri.
Now we go to a different slide with fewer ornaments. One of the things that we've been doing is looking at connectivity in different states. And so we looked at Missouri and we put together where areas don't have broadband internet access. That's 25 megabits down and 3 megabits up, which the Federal Communications Commission said is the minimum speed that a household needs to take full advantage of the internet. As you can see, much of Missouri does not have that minimum threshold to take modern advantage. And that's, I would say again, a minimum. Your local businesses need much more than that to really be able to be competitive in a modern environment. Now, if you look at the orange, these are areas in which you have fiber to the home networks, which is the gold standard of networking. These are areas that probably will not need major upgrades ever. They'll need minor upgrades over time, but that capacity, I feel confident in saying, those fiber lines will be used in 10, 20, 30 years to deliver speeds that we probably are right now thinking we will never need. The red is also fiber to the home, but the Show Me Power Electric Cooperative is so all over the map that we didn't want to confuse it and we wanted to keep it a little bit separate. So you can see that a lot of this is actually coming from rural electric cooperatives. Missouri is actually blessed with the Como Cooperative, which was one of the very first to build as an electric co-op out to everyone, and they built it without subsidies. They tried to get the Connect America, they tried to get the funding from the broadband stimulus, didn't get it, they still went out and did it. They've inspired a lot of other electric co-ops. We're now attracting, I believe, 58 as of today, electric co-ops that are making these kinds of investments. The point of this map, in many ways, in my mind, is that the best connectivity is not coming from the big companies. You're not seeing it all over Missouri from AT&T, CenturyLink, big cable companies. And I'm not here to say that they're bad actors or anything else. The point is that even if they're present in your community, you may be looking to other solutions to try and figure out how to get that high quality connectivity. I suspect Missouri is on a path for being one of the most covered states for electric rural cooperatives, covering it. And that's tremendous. Many of your communities that are in more rural areas should be talking to your electric co-ops, especially if you get service from a co-op, or if there's one nearby, approach the general manager, talk to the board to find out what their interests are. They might be a more natural partner for you to figure out how to get the infrastructure you'll need than some of the big companies. So I think a lot of people don't realize how much connectivity there already is in rural areas. And this is a reminder, finally, that even if you're in a small town, you shouldn't give up and think you just have to settle for something less. Frankly, the poorest county in the entire country is in Kentucky. They have fiber to the home from the telephone co-op, and they're creating a lot of jobs. They're not going to be the most impoverished county soon because of that. So if these small areas in eastern Kentucky, these very rural areas can do it, anyone can do it.
So this is, I'm going to speak to the map in just a second. It's actually kind of a little bit of a different view on what Christopher was just speaking to. But I wanted to first point out, so I come at this from a data science kind of predictive analytics side, where we do a lot of work in cities and working with a lot of smart sensors and expensive data sets and that type of stuff. But what's interesting here is that Rick Usher from Kansas City contacted us because we were working in Kansas City and said, and he had specific questions. He wanted to see and understand how the first step to digital inclusion is similar to what Chris was showing, what's actually available in your area, and are providers providing good enough access to citizens in different areas, maybe perhaps depending on demographics. And what we did is something that can be done for a lot of those types of questions. There's a lot of open data that's not particularly difficult for us to pull in for anywhere in the country or anywhere in the state. And so we overlaid here the colored lines that were actually toggled on here at time order. The colored lines are the internet speeds. Gray would be no internet. Yellow would be, I guess you can see on the right there, that's 25 to almost 500 megabits per second, which, as Christopher said, is sufficient. But you can see that for for time warner specifically, they're only providing to certain areas. And the color behind it, the dark blue, are the more impoverished areas. and the likelihood of the less impoverished areas. Well, what this allowed Rick and their team to understand is, are there areas of the city that the providers are leaving out based on demographics? And one thing we could do here is we could overlay different information in poverty, we could overlay different providers, we could look at the best provider, and just understand what's actually available. We could provide the same for broadband. This is broadband, the same for wireless access and that type of stuff. So, maybe we go to the next slide. So this is just just wanted to show a zoomed in view if you're looking at a particular block and trying to understand what's available there. This is all, as I said, public data, and this is all something that actually we created this map for the entire U.S. Therefore, the state of Missouri. So if you're interested, you can talk to me afterwards. But the goal here, I guess, is from like someone in my perspective, if you're able to define something that you're trying to actually see in your community, there's often data that we can overlay and provide that answer to you. And so we're going to keep iterating on this with Kansas City in different types of initiatives, but particularly digital as well.
There's some great resources for you to take advantage of through Becoming Xaqt and other resources. Becky, do you want to talk a little bit?
Sure, yeah. And I know this is sort of maybe backing up a little bit, but as a general level, I think when you're talking about broadband adoption, digital inclusion, digital divide, it's really helpful to break the problem down. It's a big complex problem. So I try to think about the first split, right, is between the supply side and demand side. So availability of where networks are actually available. And so what really makes a big difference is what speed they're available, right? And then there's the second question, the demand side. That's a whole big set of questions around whether or not people view the internet as being relevant to their lives, whether it's affordable, whether they have the digital literacy skills to actually put the internet to use, right? So we're talking about the first bucket of availability, sort of supply side. There's a number of different resources to find the data where those networks are actually available. One of the key ones is the FCC provides under what's called Form 477 data. They have, it's kind of hard to use, but they make available data if you have like a CIO who's good with computers that might be able to pull that data and be able to get fairly granular information about where broadband is available and at what speeds, and that's all available through the FCC's website.
That's what's powering this, actually.
Right, and one might want Chris Smith as well. Yeah, so that's sort of like the main source of data where broadband is available. Some top level numbers. It's helpful for Missouri at 25 megabits per second. It's about 78% of the state is covered compared to 86% of the country overall. So pretty good, not a little bit below average, but not too bad. And then somewhat more encouraging, while the FCC draws the standard at 25 megabits per second, at 10 megabits per second, Missouri's at 98.2, where the country's average is 99. And so coverage, while lacking higher speeds, at 10 megabits per second is pretty decent, right? And so if you're concerned about availability for actually participating in the economy, getting basic information, applying for jobs, 10 megabits per second is sufficient, right? And so it's while we're not looking at the gold-plated, fiber networks Chris is talking about, the availability of 10 megabits per second is making progress, right? When you pull out the statistics, though, in Missouri, it's still 61% of rural areas lack access to higher speeds for 25 megabits per second, right? And so when we find out digital divide, really where it's most dramatic is comparing urban to rural areas and at higher speeds, right? And so that's really the challenge when it comes to availability, is having higher speed access in rural areas. There are a number of different ways to go about trying to solve that problem. Rural cooperative are one of the solutions in really rural areas where the economics just don't work to have competitive providers. But within municipalities where there's some competition, I think in order to drive innovation long term, it's better to rely on private capital investment in these numbers.
I'd like to just build on that for 1 second, because a lot of the things that we've talked about are capacity, but you should really be talking to your residents and businesses about other factors like reliability. And one of the things that is very difficult to measure if you don't have these statistics on is how reliable are the networks. If you talk to local businesses, a lot of times you'll find maybe they're okay with the speed, but the network cuts out from 3 per hour or every time it rains or something like that. That's devastating, and that's not captured anywhere. And one of the things you often find is that with the networks that are advertised as being 10 megabits, but not higher than that, is that you're not getting that capacity, and that's using technology, which is often less reliable. So to some extent, you can look at statistics, but you really need to be talking to your local businesses and residents to get a sense of what you're experiencing on the ground. This can vary on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis.
And Chris, if there were interest in doing that and talking to businesses about that, are there tools or resources you might be able to refer them to about questions to ask or how to find that information?
Nothing immediately jumps to mind, but I would say that to some extent, if your Chamber of Commerce isn't aware of these kinds of problems, then they should probably be taking some responsibility and looking into it as well. So it's something I would think you can work cooperatively with local businesses to find that information pretty quickly.
It's also worth pointing out that the fiber networks are much more reliable than the speeds that are expected with the way that the infrastructure is set up. The lower speeds, it's often based on kind of sharing with neighbors and stuff like that. So they advertise you can get up to something, but everyone's using it at the same time, but you can't, stuff like that.
So we talked about data, about how to find where access is in your community, providing it, and you know, look at data. Are there any final comments before we move on to kind of resources from the panelists?
Okay. I would, just briefly say that I really respect looking at this from a supply and demand perspective. That's historically how the networks have been built. And I don't want to say that we should just think of these from one thing, but to the extent that we can layer on maps. One of the things we should also be considering is that while this may not be relevant for a household today, the house is sold. Very few houses seem to be sold anymore in areas that have poor access, but people that move in may have maybe more relevant. Similarly, with electrification, we saw farms say, I don't need no electricity. And then before the REA man left the county, they were chased down by the farmer who saw it on his neighbor's property. These things can change fairly quickly. There's groups that, Angela Siefer's group, she'll be up here later, we'll be talking about this. I do focus on the physical infrastructure. I resist looking at it from a demand and supply point of view solely, because if we build our roads historically on supply and demand, there'll be very few roads. And so to some extent, there's a chicken and egg issue. It's important to look at it from multiple perspectives.
If I can, I generally agree, but I think it's an important point. If you break it out into supply and demand issues, I think it's really interesting. I looked at the numbers yesterday, and so in Missouri, well, broadband at 25 megabits per second is available to 78% of households. Only 27% actually adopt at that level, right? And so there's a wide disparity of where broadband is actually available and the actual speeds at which households are adopting that. And so I think that this is a multifaceted problem. If we really want to get people online using robust broadband services, you have to have programs that focus both on the supply side, but also look at digital inclusion, affordability, and drive broadband adoption. And that's, I think, a more difficult problem than just addressing the infrastructure. So, yeah.
And I would agree again. I mean, to some extent, it seems like we're disagreeing. We have different perspectives that overlap significantly. I'll note, I did an interview with United Fiber in the northwest part of the state, which is releasing that fiber to the home. They were fascinated at how many people jump from their minimum service, 40 megabits per second, to, which is way faster than what we're talking about generally here, to 100 megabits per second because it was affordable. Another thing our statistics don't capture is affordability numbers, and that plays into it as well. I'm almost always going to talk about infrastructure. The digital divide and digital inclusion efforts are really important, so I second those comments. But some of this is a bit muddy.
Great, thank you very much. And so now we're going to move into kind of the final section before we get into some questions and talk about the different tools. And this will get to some of the points earlier about driving adoption and use, so that we're actually taking advantage of the speeds are there, that people are actually signing up and using them. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about resources to get broadband into the communities. Then how do we get that into the homes, and then how do we make sure they're using it effectively? So first, with some comments on the federal movements or lack thereof, and Chris, you were going to make some comments, and Doug talk a little bit about some federal programs that may or may not be around about getting broadband into the communities. So Chris.
So this is it's an odd issue because my point is that the federal government is largely not very helpful. The things that they're doing can be helpful, but it's at a small scale, and for the most part, if you're waiting for the federal government to solve your problem, you're probably not going to have that problem solved until it's too late. So The key thing that I would say is don't wait for the federal government. Now, the National Telecommunications Information Administration, NTIA, which is part of the Department of Commerce, has made a number of tools available through Broadband USA, which are good. In rural areas, the USDA, the Department of Agriculture, provides loans and other funding through a rural utility service. And so there's a variety of federal programs. We don't see significant power from the executive. I think the Obama administration made this a priority to try and figure out how to expand access in both rural and urban areas. The executive branch does not have the power right now to do more than what they're doing. Congress would have to act to give it more power and more tools. I do not expect that to happen. So I would encourage you to look at what's available to the federal government, but don't obsess over it. Don't wait for them to do more. And I'll come back and talk about the tools later, but that's sort of the federal picture from my perspective.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, just to echo a couple of those points and maybe a few other programs as well. So the FCC, the federal programs that perhaps Chris is not happy with the speed and scale at which they're moving, but the FCC has what's called a Universal Service Fund, and there are three main programs underneath that. There's the Connect America Fund that's focused on supplying broadband, providing grants to build out broadband to high-cost areas, high-cost and extremely high-cost areas. And that they're just now beginning the second option, what's called Connect America Fund number 2. They're doing an option to provide broadband funding to build out in areas that do not have up to 10 megabits per second. So looking at rural high-cost areas. There's also the E-rate program. This is focused on helping to subsidize connections to schools and libraries. And I think especially for rural areas, this can be sometimes overlooked, but it can be a really important tool to help provide a fiber line into the center of the community, right, to a small town or rural area. You can get funding from the federal government to get a high quality backbone access where it comes into the center of town into some of your anchor institutions. And that can help defray the cost of being able to build out into the city itself and have good backhaul. So E-rate for schools and libraries. And then one program this is more on the demand side, but the Lifeline program subsidizes broadband access for low-income Americans. Provides a subsidy of $9.25, so not a tremendous amount, but can help provide basic access connectivity to low-income Americans and help make access more affordable. As Chris mentioned, there are a couple other different programs. Department of Agriculture provides loans, guaranteed loans for rural. I worry sometimes that in that sort of mechanism, when they're provided as loans, you necessarily see the providers that take those loans are required to pay that money back. And so you end up seeing that money pool into areas that are either already supplied or relatively low cost to supply, and it doesn't actually end up solving the real problem in rural areas. Money pools where it's least costly to serve and basically the highest return. And so I prefer this sort of reverse auction mechanism like the Connect America Fund. NTIA under VTOP, this is a former program. This was aimed at largely driving infrastructure, but NTIA also hosts a broadband adoption toolkit. So on that demand side, they have some tools, sort of best practices to help local nonprofits to help drive digital adoption, broadband adoption, literacy. Those are the key ones.
Another acronym. Yeah, so is there a place that we could go to summarize all this?
I mean, each of their individual websites talks about all these information. We at Xaqt put out a report here recently called Policymakers Guide to Rural Broadband, so we'd be happy to share that.
I think Karen has a link for.
Yes, Scott, it's in your book. It's called Guide to Federal Funding of Broadband Projects, and it lists the projects that are just mentioned there.
So now we're going to talk a little bit more about how. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm very excited for about banks.
Yeah. So one thing I want to say, whoever said it, another federal resource is working with banks. Oh, thank you. Oh, great, thank you. Through Community Reinvestment Act funds, CI dollars. So sometimes in Washington, I just don't find how small America really is. And we'll hear like communities across the country, like 3 different communities say the same thing, you know, we have insurance starting. So what we've been hearing from communities is can we use the IRA? Banks are asking, can we invest in digital inclusion, including infrastructure, educating folks online, and that go toward our CRA, Community Investment Act requirements. So there are 3 groups that oversee the CRA funds, FDIC, Office of the Comptroller, and Federal Reserve. We were waiting for the 3 of them to come forward and say, yes, just blessing all banks can use CRAs to help in this space. But we have heard from one of the 3 groups, Joanna Barton released a report, so some of that stuff, I would kind of get the background here. But we didn't hear any green light from the other 2. So everyone on the folks at the Office of the Comptroller, and they green lighted, not only a green light, we all want banks to use CRA toward digital inclusion. You're never going to hear the 3 of us stand up in unison and say that. So just don't wait for that, keep moving forward. So I say that to you as mayors, because I feel like there's a slide missing, and I'm sorry I had it included. We really need to be thinking about how communities can partner with their banks to help banks invest their CRA dollars and meet their CRA requirements. It's a requirement of the banks and help them look for programs and projects. I think, Angela, I want to net inclusion, we have like 2 examples of banks that have stepped forward in this space, but I just can't remember. I think this bank was one, and there's another one, and I can't remember the other example. But just know, if you're ready to have that conversation, somebody among us will connect those dots with you. Yes,
So you mentioned the publication. It's you can just search online for Dallas Fed Digital Divide. The woman is Jordan Martin. She wrote a paper. The first part of the paper is a masterful discussion of digital inclusion issues. The rest of it is banking, boring stuff from my perspective. And so this is something that you probably want to get and then give to the bankers in your community, so they can take a look at and understand the benefits, the opportunities, and then there's also examples that of banks that have done this already. One in Minnesota is the one that you were thinking of, I think, where these local community banks banded together to help fund a project to build infrastructure with loans and an equity investment. So there's more tools that are being developed, and it's pretty exciting to see those local actors being encouraged to get into this environment. So encourage you to reach out to your banks and give them that Dallas Fed document.
And then think about other resources. Connect Home, you may have heard about Connect Home about a year and a half ago. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, under President Obama's Connect All initiative, launched Connect Home, which is an effort to help our public housing communities close the digital divide. As a social worker and someone who's been in the community organizing work for the last 20 years, I really believe closing the digital divide or narrowing the gap is something that our low-income families can lead the charge on. There's no reason why we can't help our low-income families think this through in a way that they actually are the ones, not the last ones to the table, but out the gate. And Connect Home is one way that we can help our low-income families do that. Over the 18 months of implementation, we connected a little more than 20,000 households in the various pilot cities. Here are the 28 pilot communities. There's 27 cities or communities in one tribal nation. After the 18 months of implementation, piloting, learning about the challenges, this is an unfunded opportunity as we go throughout the game. Still, we connected more than 20,000 households. We did not want to lose the momentum of Connect Home, so everyone on. We have now brought the initiative in-house at our nonprofit, and we've rebranded it Connect Home Nation. And this is also the partnership still with HUD, launching nationwide. We just closed the application for the first round of communities. So we hope to enroll 100 communities by 2020, and our goal is to enroll about 350,000 households connected to the internet by 2020 as well. When you choose to work with your public housing community, we do require a letter from the mayor's office and the public housing community to go into this together. Mayor James spoke about Connect Home here in Kansas City is really strong. If you're a part of the Connect Home Nation movement, you'll have online resources, webinar, and technical assistance. We have regional summits. We're looking forward to having one here in the next year. And then access to mentorship. The cities have already gone ahead and been in this effort for about a year and a half, raise their hand and say, we'll help bring on new communities. Another benefit to being in the Connected Nation effort is that these participating organizations, who become stakeholders, have brought some type of resource to the table. And in the first round, we had $70 million worth of resources brought to the table for communities to take advantage of. From everything from the American Library Association with their digital learn platform to GitHub, providing grants, and Kano provided the builders of the small computers that kids can learn to build their own computer, and they're done with their workshop. They leave with that computer that's theirs to keep. So we have quite a few stakeholders and more coming with each iteration. A second effort that everyone on is launching is our digital equity champion movement, and this is the notion that we equip every frontline professional, social workers, intake specialists, case managers, librarians, with the tools they need to ask every patient, consumer, customer, do you have internet connectivity in your home beyond a cell phone? We know that a cell phone is not enough. There's a whole paper written on that. We don't want our kids doing their homework and then math papers and writing papers on mom's cell phone or sitting in the McDonald's parking lot. And we've got to help our kids close the homework gap and get away from that practice. One way to do that is every natural touch point that our low-income families have in their lives, that they're asked, just like they're asked about utilities and families are asked about housing security, we want to ask folks, do you have the resource of internet in your home? We work with these housing communities in these efforts. So housing is one way to lift up the digital equity champion strategy. Education, libraries are also other ways. In Miami-Dade, the community college is charged of leading the effort. They have 9 campuses, serving more than 94,000 students. And they have a digital equity champion strategy at every campus. So a kiosk that a community college student approaches to enter, maybe apply for classes or change their courses, they're asked, do you need home connectivity at $10 a month or less? And then they're taken to everyone on the platform where they can learn about low cost internet. You might think, okay, that sounds really simple, but how do we operationalize this? We were all around, we were on the group, I believe we're all here during the Voter Act. Folks walk into DMV, they answer some questions, walk out with a driver's license, but we ask a few more questions, and you have to walk out with a driver's license and as a registered voter. Taking that same concept, every time a person walks into their public housing community, maybe it's a library, emergency rooms, like places where folks need resources right away, or have an application or recertification process, they address that need, ask the question, if you have home connectivity, you're on a cell phone, and if not, they work with that caring professional to understand how to have internet connectivity at home. If you or your community would like to create a digital equity champion strategy, I will be your lead person, happy to talk with you, talk that through with the team of folks, and everyone on that will support you in that process. What's also valuable about the process is we will create a unique URL, a brand new landing page that represents your city or your organization, and we will follow your analytics with you. We'll help you see how many folks are coming to your platform, what are they looking for devices, or folks looking for connectivity, and and those we look on analytics.
So those are some great resources and strategies for getting people to sign up to get that access. Are there any others before I mention going a little bit about what they do with it once they get it and how to make sure they use it effectively? Any other strategies for getting families to sign up? Okay, so go ahead. So I just want to quickly mention, and then the panelists can jump in and add to it. Another challenge, of course, we all want to make sure you focus on it and you find resources for us. Once families have that access, that they're using it effectively. From the Public Library Association's perspective, that's one of our main challenges and goals, working with our public library members to help people use the internet, not just to develop basic skills, but actually do what they intend to do, whether it's find a job, help their child with homework, connect with families, maintain their health. And so, the advanced slide. We have a product that we developed called digitallearn.org. It's at www.digitallearn.org, and it's available to anyone. It's a tutorial, online video tutorials for how to use the mouse, how to use computers, how to do a resume, how to find a job online, a lot of the very basic things. We designed this at a low reading level and a very consistent format so that learners can can really learn from the experience. We've seen a lot of the other digital literacy training tools that are out there kind of bounce around from skill levels and go really deep, when sometimes people just really need to know how do I set up game knowledge. That's all they need to know that section. So this is available in English and Spanish. It's most public libraries know about it. Some are actually working with us to personalize it so that it's not just offers all the training, but users can sign up and they can get personalized resources from the library, and the library can actually see what the new learners are doing. They can take that out of the system to see like how many people are looking for jobs, how many people are learning how to use Facebook, those kinds of things. There are lots of other digital literacy training tools. There's a handout that we brought that has little descriptions of links of them. Many of your community partners in your communities are familiar with these and actively using them, whether it's a public library or a social service provider or a senior center. A lot of them have kind of their own tools they like to refer people to. But this is a really key piece of this whole process, is making sure that once people have that access, they learn how to use it. There's a lot of fear about using computer technology. There's a lot of poor attempts at training people, where like the grandson tries to show the grandfather, and then the grandfather gets frustrated and never wants to see the computer again. But there are professionals in your public library and your other services, agencies in your community who can really help that person learn to do what they need to do. But please make sure to connect with your own library and ask them what they're doing and help them. Yes?
I just had a question, are all of those resources free?
Actually, no, and some of the ones that handout will detail, some of these are subscription services, most of them are free. But there's both.
What about digital learning?
Digital learning free. Any other comments from the panelists about digital literacy and making that usefulness factor?
I just want to underscore the importance, right? So again, I think that there is, at least, I mean, maybe more so in DC, but from a policymaker's perspective, there's so much focus on the infrastructure, on the networks. But then what really makes the difference is people actually putting that availability to use, right? And using the internet for economic purposes. And so having digital literacy for a people population is absolutely critical. So it's just underscore the importance.
So it looks like we have about 4 minutes, and I want to make sure we have a couple questions and then maybe some final comments from the panelists.
Yeah, just like bottom line, we all know that we probably couldn't survive 5 minutes without our phones, so we understand the importance of having access. But the bottom line is, if you live in, center of town in the middle of, say, Missouri, if you have 400 people and you want to have high-speed internet access, what is needed? Is it the fiber optic lines connecting that city to the next network? Is it a combination of satellite and fiber optics? What's actually needed infrastructure-wise in order to make that happen?
It will vary based on the community. Some communities already have high-quality connectivity connecting them back to Kansas City or St. Louis or Chicago or something like that. So other communities do not. They may have to pay to go 100 miles to get to what we would call an interconnection. So that's what we would call the backhaul, or middle mile, or something like that.
But would it be that fiber optic lines that need to connect those two?
Yes. I mean, ultimately, yes. There are short-term solutions. In many areas, what we would expect, if I was, just picking up a common solution, is whether you're working with a private company, whether you're partnering with someone, whether you're doing it yourself as a municipality. 400 people, you might try to figure out how to do everyone all at once if you can raise the money. Likely you need issuing some kind of debt. Someone will be issuing debt to do it. There's not a lot of grants available. Now, if it's a larger community or a larger geographic area, you might build what we call a fiber ring to wireless towers and provide a wireless service while you are generating cash flow and generating some operational efficiencies to then do fiber later. You might do a combination of fiber here and there, but ultimately, you're going to want to, 400 people, you're going to want to work with others. Right. Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot of people in Missouri are kind of, this may not be a solution for one town. I mean, some of the best solutions we're seeing in rural areas involve multiple towns working together to aggregate demand and make the numbers work better. But if you're a small community and there's a nearby area with good broadband and you can entice them to expand, that's going to be the lowest cost, lowest risk way of doing it. And I think, cooperatives are one of the first places I would look for that.
Yeah, I have a quick question, comment. We have Platinum City information to kind of make it available to us. I think we can. Our problem is, it's gonna take us another 6 months, probably a year, before we could really have accessibility on a customer basis. And I keep hearing from our friends in Jefferson City that they don't really want us to do this, that they want us to continue on with people that we frankly are not satisfied with. That they want us to continue to use that and hope that the people that are perfectly fine with providing what they're providing and not spending any more money on it are gonna be happy with that as well, which they are. But we can't survive. We have to invest, in our case, is $2.6 million, which I don't know how to find yet, but I'm working on it. And to provide fiber optic to everybody in our community, not just the businesses and so forth, at a very reasonable fee, for a very high 100 up, 100 down rate. It goes as high as
Thank you.
thank you, because I don't have to very literally in that big thing. But our problem is Jefferson City, and they're putting a time constraint on us and threatening us. And I've talked with our legislator who is not totally on board with what we're doing, but I think I'm working on it. So I don't know what my question is, except that I wish they get off our back. Any comments?
I can offer an example, yes, it's happening in other places. So, right, some of the largest previders have big lobby groups, and big lobby groups are very active in the state legislatures, and they're trying to be proactive or preempt local control over internet and broadband deployment. So I would point you to a couple of examples. Wilson, North Carolina has taken on Raleigh, the state capital. So you can check out what's going on in Wilson. And amidst the other cities, Chattanooga also. And I'm not saying that I don't know if you want to create your own broadband or municipally owned broadband, but you can at least look at some municipalities who have taken on their state capital to provide the time, the capacity, the permission to create a local solution.
I would point out just a couple of quick resources because we're out of time. My website, unitynetworks.org, we write about this on a daily basis. We're in contact with the Missouri Municipal League, which is the premier organization in Missouri fighting to retain that local, or not to take anything away from anyone else, but they're really working hard to preserve that local control. Next Century Cities works on this at a national level, the website, any city can sign up and join for free. And then Broadband Communities, which does a magazine, which covers a lot of these sorts of issues and other related things we've talked about. So those are 3 sites that pay attention to with more information about that. I wish to get up your back too.
We do need to wrap up, and I think the next panel is going to talk a little bit more about advocacy. So thank you so much to my panelists, and we'll be around for the rest of the morning.
Since we had a key question and answer short on the first panel, any of you more information about our panelists, feel free to come through me or the mayor's office, and I just have a connection with any of our panelists. So you're trying to grab it under canvas. Delicious.
So your Facebook Live?
I was, and I fell, it was so mad, I said, no, no,
Yes.
the one was on the rock, and we was like, sick of them. No, I'm good. Stop you.
Did you get both of them for her?
Yes. No, I don't want to.
They that are have their damage.
I think so.
All that coffee. Okay, we're gonna get started. My name is Siefer. I'm the director of the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. I spent a lot of time in Kansas City. For a while, my husband thought maybe I lived here. I don't. I live in Columbus, Ohio. But we are a National Association of Visual Inclusion Practitioners. So we represent the folks on the ground, what we like to say, doing the real work, not the work that I do running around the country. So the work of McClain and Carrie, and all the folks here in Kansas City who have been working on digital inclusion. The city itself is a leader amongst cities. It's very impressive. The fact that you all are here talking about digital inclusion, it's the first time, my understanding, that mayors have gathered just to talk about digital inclusion. So you all should be very proud that you're leading the edge of all this. And I find it exciting. So my panelists, whom I've known all for years, so I'm very excited that they're my panelists. Carrie from U.S. Department of Commerce. I'm not going to, I know you all can see this, but I'm not going to read it because people won't remember. Karen has been doing this work for about 15 years, a long time, in the broadband and digital inclusion field, primarily libraries, and now for the U.S. government. She's worked on this incredible project to hopefully plan your broadband activities. Colin Rhinesmith is with Simmons University. Colin is not an ivory tower kind of professor. Colin is the kind of guy that actually goes out and works with organizations for good work. That's some crazy talk. But it's true, and it's very exciting. He has actual research on broadband adoption and digital inclusion programs. That's very useful to those in the field, which we love. And we have Amy from the Shelby Coalition. Amy is I guess you do lots of things. She wears like 14 hats. Shelby's a small organization. Shelby is Schools, Health, Library, Broadband Coalition. And Amy has been from Harvard, and they are now letting her out to talk to people. It's exciting because she's brilliant. So we're excited to have all of these folks on our panel today. I want to make sure, we're going to kind of rearrange our plan and not replicate what was said in the first panel, so you might see us kind of stumble a little bit, but that's all good. To make sure we answer questions about advocacy, particularly at the state level, because of that issue. So to get us started, the definition of digital inclusion, I think is a good place for us all to start, and I'm going to ask you folks what they all think. Digital inclusion, NDIA kind of struggled with this for a while, and it's because this field is so new. If we think about it in terms of time, really commercial internet is only about 20 years old. That's kind of crazy because we rely upon it all so intently every day, right? But really, in the big scheme of things, it's pretty new. So where we landed on a definition of digital inclusion, we actually were struggling with the two terms digital equity and digital inclusion. And where we landed, because of how folks use it on the ground, is that digital equity is the goal. That's what we're looking at. Digital inclusion is the how. It's the activities that get us to the digital equity. So the digital inclusion is home access, affordable home access, right? The right tools, affordable, appropriate tools, as mentioned earlier, that is often not available. The digital literacy training, so the skills work that the libraries and community-based organizations often do, and tech support, which we all know. Any of us have gotten viruses on our computers and they just become a stupid group. We don't know how to fix them. So I'm going to ask our panelists. We're going to start with Colin in the middle. How the idea of digital inclusion has changed over time.
Yes, so good morning still, I guess it is, everybody. It's really wonderful to be here and to be speaking to this great panel. So I guess as the sole academic in the room, or at least on the panel, I can just briefly say that from following digital divide efforts since the mid-90s, really there was, one of the ways that it's changed is really a focus on access to the internet, to a shift towards focusing on once you have access, what do you do? And so that means digital literacy training, really a focus on skills. So in the academic world, there's really been a sort of a debate around sort of should we care about access anymore? You know, we know that more and more people are online these days. We should be focusing on what do we do with the access. But I think the interesting thing that I've seen in my research, and I think what's clear from visiting Kansas City and many rural communities across the country, is that we know that access still matters a lot. There's a lot of people that are still not connected to the internet. So digital inclusion, I think, really embraces both the access and the skills, as well as the other parts of the definition that we heard in the NDIA definition that are really key. So we can't forget about access. Obviously, I don't need to speak to many people in the room about that, but I think that having this robust definition of digital inclusion that incorporates all of these different facets. The reason why that's helpful is I think in the end, in terms of where we are today, with a lot of the digital inclusion activities that are happening in communities, is it's just that sort of what do we do about it? And so if we sort of look at a definition, we turn that into actionable sort of things and steps we can take, I think those definitions become hugely important as guidelines and frameworks for really tackling these digital divide.
Karen, you all up?
Yeah, so when I first started to do work in this area, when we talked about the digital divide and digital inclusion, we were talking about people. You know, some people were disadvantaged because they were connected, and so we needed to help those people. And I think it was when the city of Philadelphia started a project called Wireless Philadelphia, that the mayor of Philadelphia and the CIO at that point in time realized that if neighborhoods were going to survive, they needed to be connected. And that it wasn't just an individual issue, it was a community issue. And that my community is disadvantaged if I'm not connected. And that was a shift from looking at digital divide and digital inclusion as an individual item to looking at it as a community item. That was about 10 years ago. Now there's been some additional shifts. So now not only do we know that you need digital connections to have a healthy community, healthy education, healthy healthcare, healthy economy, healthy innovation environment, healthy civic engagement. We're there now, but now we're at the point where when we think about the digital divide and similarly all the digital positives, digital excellence, digital equity, digital participation, then now we're getting much more nuanced. So it's not just about the connection, it's not just about the skills, it's about deeper skills. You know, in the American Library Association, some people have said, coding is the new literacy of the digital age. You know, we need more deep skills and also we need faster connections. So there's a difference if I have to, okay, when I was in my hotel room last night trying to update my Airbnb page on a very, very slow internet connection, I was not very effective and I was very frustrated. So speed matters to me. I need enough speed so that I can get through that connection stuff in order to my higher level function around something that growth and getting everybody set. And I think so we're at the point now where skills matter, speed matters, innovation matters, and that's again deeper skills. And so the digital divide and now digital equity has shifted from an individual to a community and now to a deeper sense that involves both skills and equity and fast access.
Amy, anyone?
Yeah, I want to jump off of Karen's discussion on the community aspect. So as Angela mentioned, I'm part of the Schools, Health, and Libraries Broadband Coalition. So that means when I think of digital inclusion, I think of those community institutions. And unfortunately, they're often forgotten in the conversations with digital inclusion. Obviously, residential broadband is the end goal. We want to get fiber to all of our residents. That would be fantastic. But in the meantime, schools and the libraries can be really champions of digital inclusion. So just getting one drop of broadband to a school can automatically connect a community that wasn't connected before. And so that's really helps some of the most vulnerable populations, senior citizens, low-income communities, disabled students, and really just a lot of populations who rely on their school or their library to access government services. And so that's what we're really focused on. And once you get that connection to the what we call them the anchor institutions, because that's how they really serve in the community. They can anchor them to that broadband connection. But once we get the connection to those anchor institutions, they're able to distribute it and bring their whole community online, like Karen was mentioning.
Thank you. Colin, considering the work that you've done with the digital inclusion programs on the ground, what would you say are the 3 strategies that you would most recommend for a successful program?
Yeah, so let's see. So in 2015, so I'm also affiliated with the Benton Foundation, which is a private foundation located in Chicago and Washington, D.C. that does a lot of advocacy work around closing the digital divide. And I set out to do a research project to understand what were communities doing on the ground to promote digital inclusion or digital equity. And so one of the things that I found, sort of cutting right to the chase here, or without going into all the gory details, essentially what I found was that all of the communities, and so this was mostly urban areas across the country, the report is available on Benton Foundation's website. Maybe we can share it after. But with all of the cities that I looked at, there was sort of a 4-part digital inclusion strategy that all of the organizations took part in or partnered with other anchor institutions to carry out this plan. So essentially, it covers what we've already talked about, which is, obviously access to broadband is really key. That's really the first step. But specifically low-cost options, like we're hearing everyone on is doing great work in this area. So everyone on is very much a part of a lot of the efforts that community anchor institutions and other organizations are involved with in promoting as a way to connect their residents to low-cost options. So low-cost broadband was a big focus of their work, but also low-cost devices. And so I was fortunate to be here in Kansas City working with Connected for Good and looked at their excellent work. And this 4-part strategy, they're actually doing all 4 of these things. So it's low-cost options for broadband, low-cost devices, so Connecting for Good is involved with computer refurbishing initiatives, as well as providing community wireless access, so sharing wireless access, and in this case through public housing, but also other initiatives where you can set up what's called a mesh wireless network, which we can get into those details later. But so essentially, it's low-cost access. I'm sorry, I think those are the low-cost option, low-cost access, low-cost devices, digital literacy training, but also public access computing. Obviously, public libraries are really well known and really the first place that many people think of in their community to go to find access to computers. And in many cases, they're the only place in a community, particularly in rural areas where folks can go to gain access to public computing. And why does that matter? That sort of 4 parts that matters. Not only is it's, we need to gain access or help folks gain access to connectivity, to access to broadband and devices, and the skills needed to sort of, make use of that access. But really, I think one of the key things that I learned was really, it's that combination of both social and technical support, which might be a little bit of what Karen was talking about in terms of the community sort of aspect. But that community aspect is huge, and it shows up in the sort of what I call sort of an ecology of support that I found. And so not every organization that I worked with in this national study, we're doing all of this 4-part digital inclusion strategy, but they were partnering with someone else in their communities to do one of those 4 things. As I said, Connecting for Good is doing all 4 of those things. But in other cities that are just focused on computer refurbishing, they're partnering with their public libraries to provide public access to computers, and also digital literacy training. So it was something that, there obviously these organizations, like all very different types of organizations, from public libraries to community-based organizations, mostly nonprofit organizations. None of them were sort of working together. But I think the one thing that they all agreed upon was that this sort of 4-part strategy for digital inclusion was really essential if they're going to really address the digital equity issues.
Can you follow up?
Yeah, I don't want to get more complicated, but I made a 12-part strategy. It's like the 12-step process. Actually, what we did is we made a broadband planning tool, and you've got a 2-pager in your handout, and we really asked people what was important about broadband. We ended up with 3 sectors. One is around access and availability. The other one is around inclusion and skills. And the third one is around community support and context. And what we're right now in beta with an online tool that actually implements this planning strategy in the community. But what I think we found is that different communities have different outcomes. It starts with what are your community priorities. And then, we have one section on having provider partnerships, and another one is specifically on inventory and rights of way, and using public rights of way. In the digital skills area, one of the questions we ask is about sustainable funding. It's easy to do any of these things, but if you can institutionalize them in your organization, not just in a nonprofit, but in the way that you deliver services, that has a lot of value as well. So there's a lot of ways to approach it, and it's really important to come up with a way that is aligned with your community goals and objectives, and then leverage the resources that you have.
So to follow up on the low-cost offers that Colin was mentioning, there are organizations, there are internet service providers who do have their own low-cost offers. We won't necessarily find these on the services page of their website or with a quick search, but every one has some on their site. We have them listed on the digital inclusion.org site, so you can often find them. The ones around here that are clear is the one from Spectrum, we have one from AT&T. But then also, when you have smaller providers in your area, discuss with them. Like when you are working on infrastructure plans or you're in discussions with your internet service providers, you can discuss with them how to integrate, how they could possibly offer some particular program to a housing authority where there's people who are eligible for a low-income neighborhood. The Google fiber strategy around here is that they do $15 a month service to what they call the connected neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are people who have a home. So we're going to move in now to the Universal Service Fund, and that was already brought up earlier, the idea of that there is funding pots within the FCC, from the FCC, off of your telephone bills, the Universal Service Fund. The one that didn't get mentioned earlier was telehealth. So I'm going to jump to Amy and have you describe the telehealth, the health fund that you all have been working with.
Yes, thank you, Angela. So we believe that health is a really crucial component of digital inclusion, and it's an aspect that's sometimes forgotten. The panel before us was talking about the power of telehealth and telemedicine, and that's particularly important in rural communities that might face a shortage of doctors. So I think last year alone, almost 300 hospitals were facing closures in rural areas. And so that means that rural communities just don't have access to the specialists and resources that their urban counterparts have. And telehealth can really make up that difference. And so one success story that we like to share is of one woman who was on an island off the coast of Maine. And there was no hospital there. She would have to travel to the mainland. It'd be a whole day trip. So one day she injured her eye and didn't think much of it, but it didn't get better. So she decided to go to the telehealth clinic on the island. And the doctor said, if you don't get to a hospital immediately, you're going to lose your eyesight. And so, in that case, telehealth really saved that woman's eyesight. And that telehealth clinic was possible because it was part of a larger telehealth network that was 85% funded by the Rural Healthcare Program that Angela mentioned. So the Rural Healthcare Program is one of the 4 USF programs. It's the smallest one, and it's also the only one that has not been reformed. So it hasn't been reformed in 20 years. And unfortunately, right now, it is in a bit of a crisis. So for the first time, it reached its $400 million cap, which resulted in a 7.5% decrease in funding for funding year 2016. And it also means that funding year 2017 is incredibly uncertain. And so we've already heard stories of clinics that have canceled their broadband service because they can't make up the 7.5% gap in funding, and they don't know what to expect next year. And even though it is called Rural Healthcare Program, this impacts rural and urban communities because it really encourages consortia applications, and the requirement is that 51% of the clinics be rural. So that means 49% of the recipients can be urban. It's because they're trying to connect those rural clinics to the urban resources and specialists. And so we're calling on the FCC, we've sent a petition to reform the Rural Healthcare Program, and we're asking for more funding. And in fact, the $400 million cap has not even met pace with inflation. So if you take inflation into account, it should be $700 million. So we think this is a very reasonable ask, and we've already had senators sign on to a letter to the FCC as well. But this is an incredibly important issue that is affecting rural communities across America. So we would love the mayor's voice of support in this. So if you want to know how to support the Rural Healthcare Program reform, please reach out to me afterwards, and we can get your voice of support to the FCC.
So any of the topics that fall under the anchor institution, the schools, the health, the library, Shelby does a fabulous job of advocating for those resources and for those programs to make sure they are up to date and they're meeting the needs of folks on the ground. As mentioned during the first panel, the challenges of what has happened to regulations based upon the influence of internet service providers is pretty intense, right? As you know, and I think it's, as we think about how it is to influence that, it is your voice and your interaction with those state legislators. So think about who they interact with on a day-to-day basis. It is those internet service provider lobbyists, who are all very nice people, right? They don't hire, right? They hire nice people. And so when a state legislator is talking to them, of course, it makes total sense when they're explaining something. So unless you go talk to the state legislator and tell them, look, here's the reality of life in my town, they're just going to believe what is it they're told by the providers, because the providers are protecting their own interests. And again, nothing against the providers, that's their job. Their job is to have high profit margin. That's who they are, that's fine. We just need to recognize that that's who they are. And then go do the things you need to do for your community.
I wanted to mention the Connect America Fund, though.
Yes.
So the Connect America Fund is the biggest part of the Universal Service Fund, so it's more than $4 billion a year. And it used to be called the High Cost Fund. So in the concept of universal telephone service, it was the fund that we used to subsidize telephone service to the parts of America where the costs were highest, where the business case wouldn't make sense otherwise. And as part of the 2010 National Broadband Plan, there was a call to modernize the High Cost Fund and to twist it to focus more on broadband, because that was the new telecommunications investment area. Of course, it wasn't exactly new in 2010, but that's when we got around to doing the modernization. So over the past years, there's been a shift in how we manage the High Cost Fund, now calling it Connect America, in order to promote rural broadband. So the eligible people who get money are eligible telephone carriers. And so if a carrier that serves your area has funding, It's good to know that they've got funding and to talk with them about how they're spending that funding and what kind of upgrades you can expect to see. On the flip side of it, if the carriers that are eligible to provide service in your areas don't choose to take that money, that check is left on the table, or you might say those census blocks are left on the table, then those census blocks can be bid for by other carriers who would provide service. So it's kind of helpful if you feel you're in an underserved area to kind of be aware as to where the high cost fund or Connect America funding is going, because there's two different ways that it could benefit you. One is if an eligible telephone company is already planning on upgrading service. The other one is if they're not, that means there's money on the table that you can maybe talk with other carriers about, providers about reaching out to.
The hot topic in many of the state legislators that's hitting the wall locally is 5G. Right, there's a lot of talk about having statewide bills, and it's passed in some states. I live in Ohio, it passed, and then fortunately they attached it to a Peppermint bill, puppy mills, right? You're not allowed to attach mills to another bill. So it got pulled back. But let's talk about 5G a bit, because that's a hot topic right now. Karen, you want to take that one?
Okay. I have a telecom geek, so I kind of believe more is better. You know, I want more fiber, I want more wireless, I want more bandwidth everywhere in my life. And I think more and more people are becoming that way. Wireless is pretty awesome, and there's a number of changes going on in the wireless area, including the introduction of 5G. So 5G is a new standard. It's probably not likely to be a standard until like 2020. And so the standard itself is out there a little bit, but what 5G is, it's a smaller wavelength. And because it's a smaller wavelength service, that means that you need more antennas closer together in order for it to work. So if you think about the old cellular environment, when we put all the big cell towers in, most of those are on private property. You know, and we've talked about how those get legislated and how we make decisions as to where those go. But when you talk about the new 5G towers, because you need more of them, you need a higher density of these smaller towers or smaller pieces of equipment, smaller antennas, the carriers would like to use your more traditional roads or highways or rights of way because they need that higher density. So that means that discussion about how that rights of way is managed and how those permissions are granted is very active discussion. So there's a couple of things that you might consider about it. The first one is just because you have wireless doesn't mean you don't have fiber. So I would say under every good wireless network is fiber. And you know, if you don't have fiber injection points every so often in these antennas, then you're going to have very slow service. So you don't need fiber all the way down the street, but you will still need fiber. So 5G doesn't mean no fiber. Fiber makes 5G better. And the second thing is when you're thinking about those rights of way in order to support that, that's an awfully good time to also think about that asset that you have that is a rights of way and what is the public benefit you might expect out of that. Because the carriers, when they deploy the services, have a right and an opportunity to do so in a way that best fits their business case. But you as a government advocate or citizen advocate and government leader, you have the opportunity to have a conversation with them about how that deployment also meets your public interest. And that might be a way to drive increased digital equity, meaning I'll give you access to all of the high-income parts of the neighborhood, but I need you to cover these lower-income parts of the neighborhood at the same time. And so those are opportunities for you to kind of be aware of. And we point this out because the conversation about rights of way for 5G is happening in advance of when the technology is available, but it's happening right now at all levels of government. So it's happening at the federal level, it's happening at the state level, and it's happening at the local level. And there is some concern about local preemption because of either state or federal regulations, so it's probably an important one for you to be be aware of.
I think it's more than a concern, it's like, danger, danger. It's already happening. It is local preemption right now. So, the more that you understand, the more you dig into understanding what the 5G is, the more you can respond to the folks, or to the service providers. You want to just throw the cells all over your city, like, whoa, 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 let's talk about this first. And be able to have the conversations with your state legislators so that they understand also. It's not that you're putting the roadblocks, it's that you want to know about. Right?
Well, I'd say maybe for the mayors in the room, the providers are going to be approaching you with small cell pole attachment agreements. So they're not necessarily calling it 5G. Right now, it's really small cell deployment. And we have a template agreement in Kansas City that we can share with you that meets state regulation and that we've used with about 8 or 9 different providers.
Could you also talk about, Karen mentioned being able to make sure it goes into every neighborhood, the distribution, but then also that there's also the opportunity then to ask them to put a portion of those, you all to choose to put a portion of those into digital inclusion work that goes to the youth side.
Well, we don't have the authority to say this has to be equitably distributed. Now, what we've seen with Sprint, for example, they have a densification project, and they are building this pretty much citywide and through some of our lower income, economically distressed neighborhoods. They used their technology that shows where their dropped calls are, and because we know that most people are connected with their mobile devices, we saw that this was also a way that these residents were getting their internet access. So we basically asked them in a side agreement with their service provider, which was Mobility, if they would donate mobile Wi-Fi hotspots to our Connect Home project, the program. And so they made a gift of 550 mobile Wi-Fi hotspots. But the other providers, we haven't continued to pursue those type agreements, but we are planning on using a portion of the pole attachment fees in our digital inclusion efforts. It's always creating a new program, finding a new funding source is always difficult, and this is basically a new funding source, the pole attachments and so the other fees related to those projects.
Great, so we're going to open it up for questions. And I know the first panel didn't have quite enough time for questions, but these folks probably know a lot of the same answers. So there was stuff in the first panel too. Okay.
I think the pole attachment agreements, are those defined by the legislation and what we're allowed to charge? Because that's where we're being told you have to let us do this.
Yeah, that's their first tactic in talking to you. So don't go to that meeting. And unfortunately, a couple of the companies we started dealing with were very aggressive in just telling us this is what the state law says, and then we had our law department review those same things, and they came back and said, no, we've got more authority as a local jurisdiction. We charge $540 per pole for pole attachments, and then there's another category of we generally call it new facilities. So it's where a pole isn't available, but they're going to install their own pole. And the state law allows you to charge up to $1,500 on that. We started at $1,500. So I don't know how many of those permits we've issued. The other one on those is just that some of the providers came in saying, won't name names, but saying that they wanted to put in 120-foot poles throughout residential neighborhoods and throughout some of our commercial neighborhoods, and of course we saw that as a non-starter, and especially on boulevards and parkways. So we limited them to the height of the street light infrastructure in whatever neighborhood they're in, and also put a requirement that they notify adjacent owners in a public comment period. So what we're seeing really is pole attachment. But so I say pole attachment, what really ends up happening is pole replacement. They put a new pole in, they put their antenna on it, and then they attach our street light to that pole. So it looks like a street light pole with a Q-tip on top.
But there's also a quality concern, right? With,
Yeah.
so some of these companies might have come in and not only put in poles that are double the height of existing infrastructure in neighborhoods, but they wanted to use wood rather than steel or whatever the other materials are typically used. And so it's a process of negotiation where you have to make sure that aesthetically, you know, the poles that they want to put in are pleasing to the community in which they want to put them. There's a question about.
Well, I was just going to follow up a little bit. That was part of the key one of the key bills that we fought against last year, both the MML and the St. Louis League, dealing with the right-of-way and the placement of the antennas and so forth last year. And that legislation or those efforts by the providers will be coming back next year. But that was a piece of legislation that last year literally changed almost on a daily basis with the providers that they're trying to influence the legislators. So it will be back next year.
Chris?
I just wanted to briefly say that one of the things about it is that you really can't change the rules in the middle of a permitting process. So it's really helpful to get out in front and think about it and develop some rules that you're going to ahead of time with some input from various folks.
Thank you. Yes.
I was going to build on what they were saying. From a federal level, Missouri, as mayors, I think I can speak for all this, we're getting beat up bad by Jeff City on losing local control. That the providers and their lobbyists are so strong. I mean, they're like trying to run over everything. Is there anything more globally that the federal can do, or is this a state-by-state issue?
To the best of my knowledge, I'm with NTIA, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. We're an advisor to the president, and NTIA has not taken a position on this, and I don't expect the White House to be asking for us to take one. So the key federal agency that has some sway over this and has indicated an interest in having that conversation is the FCC. FCC has done regulations before on pole attachments, and I know, and it is my understanding that there is a bit of discussion going on with the FCC right now. The FCC is an independent regulatory agency, and I think you're probably right to be concerned about that.
So your advice would be, as an MML or as a group of mayors, go directly to the FTC or what?
FCC is happening at the FCC.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, I think this is a huge issue. And I would say that a lot of the legacy pole attachment regulations are all, not necessarily pole attachment rights of way, are all contemplating a different kind of service. These small cells are going to have to attach much more frequently. And so these service rights, if they are going to be deployed, are going to need to see a change from sort of regulations that are written. And so it's like they're going to keep pushing to get this done. But it's absolutely true. I wouldn't, if you're trying to maintain local control, I would worry about both the FCC and the state level. They're going to be pushing for both those directions. FCC, at least the Republicans of the FCC, are talking about state level leadership. So even preempting at the state level. And so, it is trying to, there's an organization that the FCC stood up that I'm participating in, the Broadband Deployment Advisory Committee, that's working to develop model codes for both the local and city level and then also the state level. This is a huge point of contention to what extent the state model code supersedes at the local level. And so this is a question that's being asked at every level of policy making, is how do we create that right balance between state and local, and it really comes down to pole attachment fees are really the biggest one, how much it's charged on an annual basis to attach something to each pole, because they're looking at 1 or 2 orders of magnitude for attachments. And so something's got to change, but what the right answer is, I think, is a big question mark. And so it's definitely.
Well, you did a good job of pointing out, it's not just the fees, it's the aesthetics, it's the placement.
Right, it's everything.
There are a lot of local issues.
And it's the process that you use, and then it's prioritizing the city asset for city use, first of all, and then making it available to these providers.
Yeah, I think One of the way that this relates to our conversation about digital inclusion is that it's so clear to me that when you talk about public assets, that it's really important to have a clear sense of public benefit. And the public benefits from telecommunications in a commercial sense, but one of the things that our local leaders do is they look at that public benefit in a broader way. You know, so you're looking at the aesthetics, you're looking at the equity of it, you're looking at the economic development components of it. And so your voice is just uniquely important to this conversation because of how you think about public benefit more holistically than many of the other players in the room. And so being strong and being well informed in this area and really looking at how you leverage those public assets to provide the greatest public benefit. And even once you make an agreement, how you can hold people accountable for using that agreement in a way consistent with what they said they would to continue to provide that benefit.
Yeah, we'll have a unique opportunity at some point in the near future to influence on the FCC on issues like this. The chairman of the FCC, Azure High, is actually originally from the country. His parents lived in Northland, Kansas State, and he's committed to us come and speak at the library at some point, and definitely with the mayor and he's fortunate and others strengthen the program, etc. And so I would be happy to, when it comes to try and organize a meeting with the municipal league mayors to talk about this issue. Maybe we will have any impact on.
Yeah, and just to plug Next Century Cities, actually maybe Chris Mitchell can speak more to this, but they've had some fantastic resources and blog posts about pole attachments, and their membership is free for mayors. And so it's a great collection of mayors coming together and voicing these concerns, and they're fantastic advocates at the federal level. So I would look at them as a resource in terms of that issue as well.
And there's nothing to stop you all from having your own local events about broadband. They've kind of been on the rise lately. More of these, where locally, in rural areas in particular, folks are gathering together. There was just one in Marietta, Ohio that I went to, and Chris was keynoting there. And it was not just the folks in Marietta, which is right across the border from West Virginia, but it was other small towns from around that pulled in. And it was their opportunity to talk to folks who were working on this in other communities and hear exactly the same kind of stuff we were talking about today with the pole attachments and what Chris was mentioning on how you get the networks built. So part of the value of that is not just the sharing of information, but it's the connection building. So if you do need to go to the state legislature, you have a bigger group to go with you, not just yourself.
And I just want to highlight one thing that Rick said, which was leveraging the pole attachment fees to drive some of your inclusion and skills development efforts. Because that issue about sustainable funding and if this becomes, if the skills parts of it becomes important to your economy and your community plan, then expecting it all to happen out of charity alone is not enough. So you need systems that support building the kind of skills in your communities that you want, and that means, the social infrastructure. And so if you can tie those together, that has a nice benefit.
Last comments from our panel. Colin, maybe you want to pop in?
Well, I was actually just going to say, there's also a history of, using public rights of way for public benefit, and that actually can be found from public educational government access television. It's a different medium, but and also that has led people to think about how to use, in this case, cable franchise fees that also similarly were lobbied against at the state level, and unfortunately we have fewer and fewer states that have support for local control over the public rights of way related to cable. But the point in all this is actually some cities like Boston and others are beginning to say, how can we think about public rights of way for public benefits? And actually in Boston, and I don't know if there are other cities, they're actually using franchise fees in some sense, or looking at sort of those mechanisms to support digital equity efforts. So there's a history I think in general, thinking about how to use public rights of way for public benefit. So I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Amy, last thought?
So we've been talking a lot about funding programs today, and I just wanted to mention that Shelby has an event coming up in DC on the 4 Universal Service Fund programs. So E-Rate, Lifeline, Rural Healthcare, and Connect America Fund. So that'll be November 2nd in DC. I hope many of you can join us. And we also have a monthly webinar series. And so our upcoming webinar is actually on the rural healthcare program, what I was talking about earlier. But we also talk about how to leverage E-Rate. We didn't get into this today, but you can really leverage E-Rate funds to connect beyond schools and libraries and to greater residents and low-income housing. So we'll be discussing that. So you can find all of those resources and more policy recommendations at www.shlv.org.
So Shelby is a membership-based organization. Next Century Cities membership-based organization, and NBIA also a membership-based organization. So if you, Next Century Cities is free to join. I encourage you all to look at that. The resources they have there are definitely about the infrastructure and about the build-out. NBIA, we're more on the use side, so, but we understand the infrastructure side of it and can talk about the low-cost options. And all 3 of those organizations interact with lots of folks nationally. Shelby and NBIA can do advocacy work at a federal level. So when some of these topics come up, we're the ones that are hounding folks. I think we need to wrap up. You have another panel coming up, yes? Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there's 5 minutes or so for refreshment break and snack break.
So I had to get some of the race and but I feel good.
Yes, okay, so you have
I was Siefer. Yeah, that's actually
Great, yeah, so Microsoft they just started yeah, so right, so you should check out but they're all about yeah, I don't know if you have a mobile yeah, okay. Well, because we have
Yeah. So I think it's such a really
So this is it's an anti-creation that was started in Florida, Tucson. So now, unfortunately, it's mostly by the gun. All kinds of particularly super creation. And so there is a barrier I pay attention to that marketing organization is very I'm frustrated with quickly to sit around the control. It's going to be this. That's the issue I would think. Yeah, absolutely. And it's frankly, it's really concerning. We're supposed to be that crazy. Hopefully we'll see more movements. I've been to switch places, they would be horrified. Sure. Gotta wait, make sure everybody's on. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get started with panelists. We're gonna take a more conversational approach to this last one, so please feel free if you have questions, just raise your hand and be there. But the folks that you see sitting in front of you are representative of the groups, the boots on the ground in any community that really wants to take charge in addressing the digital divide. It necessitates a collaboration amongst many different facets of social service providers, members of government, your library, your internet service providers. And so I represent the mayor's office in doing what we can as government in tackling this problem. But we formed a coalition of all these different organizations to come together. And so we've got a representative of the library, we've got a representative of the city manager's side, I don't know if you're aware, Kansas City, we've got a weak form of government. I know we use sly and weak in the same sentence, oxymoron. But me and our assistant city manager work hand in hand on digital inclusion efforts. And we've also got someone who represents one of our stakeholder organizations that provides low-cost equipment. And so we just kind of tag team and work in tandem. But we wanted to discuss with you all the benefits of forming such a coalition in your communities and what those coalitions do. And I'll start with Carrie, who can speak to that.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here this morning. I'm Carrie, Coogan, I'm Deputy Director of Public Affairs for the Kansas City Public Library. And I'm especially happy that you're here because I think it's important, the work that we're doing in digital inclusion here in Kansas City, but we also want to be a resource and a help for anybody in the state of Missouri, and certainly our local mayors surrounding us to help in any way we can with the work that we're already doing and helping our entire state be a leader in this area. So I'm also the president of the Kansas City Digital Inclusion Coalition. The coalition was actually started right around the time that Google Fiber came to town, and we realized that we wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. And so we decided that to do that, we really needed to get all the stakeholders together to do that. So we began with a lot of the nonprofits, Literacy Kansas City, Connecting for Good, the city, the library, components of the library, so other staff members within the library branches, and our youth and family engagement. And we wanted to get together to make sure that everyone was equally represented. And so in the very beginning, particularly with Google Fiber, you had to sign up to be a part of Google Fiber's free access, or at least access to this wonderful new technology. And there was a lot of people that didn't understand the value or see the need for it, and so the library was active in getting people together to make sure that they were signed up. So already we knew that we needed to make sure that people understood the value of it. So from there, the coalition now today has grown. We have probably over 150 different members. They range in nonprofits to actual providers, and we meet here in the library once a month.
So we meet for an hour and we talk about what each organization is respectively doing in digital inclusion and how we can collaborate. We get together to talk about state level issues, national issues, and how we can advocate for our community and make sure that they're getting access to broadband and the skills that they need. The mayor mentioned that in the spring we adopted a digital equity plan for the city. And that document was really to guide the city's efforts because, the city has a unique role in all this. We're not the practitioners. We're not the ones that are going to be providing the training. Typically, when those that are providing the training come to us, they want money. And so we took it upon ourselves, the prodding of others in the coalition to define our role. And so that's what our plan does. There's a copy of it in your materials. And the plan itself was meant to, educate the city council on the issue, to make sure that the mayor was fully abreast of the issue, and then to educate the community on what the city's role could be in addressing that issue. And Rick, can you speak more to the process for adopting the plan and the components of the plan?
Yeah, it'd be real
really, from the beginning of our meetings with the Coalition for Digital Inclusion, I really saw my role as, listening to the community need, and then at City Hall, that the major role of the city and you as mayors can play is connecting and convening. And McClain mentioned our form of government, but really the political leadership that you can provide is key to this being successful in your city. You as a mayor step up and speak publicly about the need for digital equity and digital inclusion that brings people to the conversation. So the first few years, a lot of the work that we're doing was just ad hoc. We would see a need and find a way for the city to participate in that, or to bring another partner into that conversation. So really in our citywide strategic plan, we put the goal in there of adopting a digital equity plan. Cities across the country, Seattle, Austin, Boston, I think are peer cities as far as the digital equity efforts go. So we developed that over the course of the year for public hearings with people in the community, trying to hear from those people that were in the digital divide, not connected, and addressing their needs. So it's we have a plan, but I think our 6 major points are proving to be a good strategy, and it's ongoing. So now our, we've adopted the plan, now we're implementing that plan and working on it to make it happen.
In those community meetings, we made sure to go out to, 4 different areas of the city to make sure that we touched on all the different demographics. And at one of our meetings, we had 2 people show. You guys know how difficult community engagement can be. And the most vocal lady was a senior who, I don't have a smartphone, I need a smartphone. My son is stationed overseas, he's sending his tablet, but I don't really know how to use it. I just like it for the pictures, so I put it for my grandkids. And, we're talking to this woman about, what her interests are. Oh, I like to cook. Well, that you can access endless recipes online and demonstrations on YouTube, what's that? And at the end of the conversation, we asked the lady to pull her phone out, and she has a smartphone. She didn't even know she had a smartphone. And she didn't know how to use it. She didn't know that she had an email address. She had an email address in order to sign up for healthcare. And that just speaks to, not only is the divide an issue of affordability, but it's also an issue of relevancy for a lot of people. They don't see the need or the importance of being online, particularly our seniors. They don't see how more efficient their lives could be, or how more affordable resources are that are available online. It's cheaper to start a business online than it is to go down, and do it in person. And so one of the initial things that we did to effectuate our plan was to host a community relevancy and resources event where we went out to the community and said, hey, we understand that you guys are disconnected. How can we help you get better connected? We brought our internet service providers in to talk about their low-cost offerings and to sign residents up on the spot, rather than saying, hey, residents, it's on you to go out and reach out to these service providers. Let's bring them to you so that you can sign up now and your life be enriched, right then and there. We did the same thing for digital literacy skills providers. We brought them in, got residents signed up. We're able to talk to residents about their transportation needs to make sure that they could actually get there. Making sure that we're having a real impact rather than just talking about the issue. So we're in the stage now of implementing the plan. And in order for us to implement our plan, we need practitioners that are actually doing the work. Bob Akers here, sitting in the middle, he is the executive director of 2 organizations now, I guess. The first is a local organization that's an e-waste, responsible e-waste management organization. It's all about, just making sure that computer equipment is responsibly disposed of. And the city 2 years ago decided that instead of disposing of our surplus equipment, why not donate that equipment into the pipeline of affordable equipment available for our low-income residents. So we developed a program called Digital Upcycling, through which we donate that equipment. Bob's organization refurbishes it to the highest standards, and then we make it available for very low cost purchase for income qualifying residents. We're now trying to expand that program nationally, internationally. You'll soon see them on the list of partners for everyone on, because they're going into other communities and modeling programs after groups right here in Kansas City. But Bob, if you could please talk about some of the implementation methods of our team.
Sure. I'm kind of the environmentalist that snuck in the back door during the Digital Inclusion Conference. Kind of looked at it, to me, environmentalism, if you're an environmentalist, you're a problem solver. There was a problem, we were going to try to figure out how to solve it. We had massive amounts of IT coming through our doors. We were getting a lot of IT coming from the corporate world. It seemed like it made a lot more sense to repurpose that gear and get it into these communities in need, rather than do a little backstory. The commodities market was dying. I think it was correcting itself. So the people in our industry who would normally take this gear, shred it, send it down the line, make revenue off of it, maybe lose control of it, would be better served if we really built it back up, looked more at reuse, and put it back into these communities. Reuse is an environmentally smarter thing to do. And if we did it right, you're looking at maybe $3 and some change for this material to go to just reuse, reclaim. Even if they get $50 a unit, either from funding or from some sort of sale into low-income housing facilities, it's a plus for the industry. Swing it the other direction, and we talked to corporations. Well, we reduce risk, liability, and we take care of data security by the certifications that we carry. Corporate world is looking at a return of investment on stuff going through the usual ITAP model that's under 0.5%. If they do it as a donation, it then goes into a digital equity program of some sort. Well, they're looking at maybe 6 to 6.5%. And if anybody's interested in that, I can send you the map. It was based off of looking at a Latitude, the Dell Latitude laptop was about an $800 machine to begin with, that's been played off the books for a corporation, and then what it would get through the normal ITAD model, which is IT asset deposition model. So we made a play to the corporate world that really it's in your benefit to put this material back into these places of need in our society. You're basically an uneducated society, it's a failed society, and if that's the direction we go, we're not going to make it. So it makes more sense to educate the next generation. Corporations apparently understand that, or they just like the PR. I really don't care what the motivation is, as long as I'm getting that material and I can redeploy it, or we educate the next generation. When you look at most corporations have a social responsibility program of some sort. If they could put this in their portfolio, they would take the notable thing off their list. If they get some earned media out of it, they take that off the list. If their ROI is better, they take that off the list. And at the end of the day, we do better things for people in the community. I didn't know, as I was talking with Mayor James a few minutes ago, when I first started down this road, I didn't know what I didn't know. When I was running a program at Surplus Exchange, over the last probably 12 years, I think we gifted over 1,500 computers to disadvantaged youth in Kansas City through a program we had with the Boys and Girls Club. And every once in a while we start hearing about when these machines went to a pawn shop, or the machines ended up somewhere else, where we didn't want them to be. And I never could figure out why that would happen until, the sort of pasty tail guy from the suburbs went to public housing and got the reality of, we gave them a bag of bricks and a bag of mortar. We didn't give them any water, so they can't build anything. They don't have connectivity, so giving them a computer was not really going to solve their problem. We have to get them the connectivity. We got them the connectivity, we went into the public housing facilities, we had the computers there. That started to make a lot more sense. Now that I've moved over to the Fossil Action Network, I'm the enterprise director of the e-Stewards program, I talk to cities all over the country. And it still boggles my mind that I'll have a city call here to me in Kansas City and want me to ship down 25 computers to New England. Because really, when I had a meeting with Rick, I very pointedly said, well, what's the need? What are we looking at? And since it was a Connect Home program, we knew. We had 1,900 public housing apartments, I believe. Within a month, I had 1,400 computers inventory, and 1,440 was the number. It was very quick and very easy for us to do. And then I get a call from Rockford, Illinois, needing 900 computers. Well, the shipping on 900 computers is going to eclipse the cost of the machine. But I have an e-Steward in Chicago. I have e-Stewards in Boston. You know, if we make this work, I can make that work. I have more e-Stewards in the state of Missouri to level that thing out. So really, if you look at what we did in Kansas City, it was really simple, common sense, Midwestern approach. That's called genius elsewhere. Just bottom line. But that's just what we do here, right there. That's just what we do. So what we did was we had people who just stayed in their lanes. You know, I can't speak enough to the work that McClain and Rick did, getting people lined up, doing what they're supposed to do. We had people handling the digital literacy. We had people handling the equipment. We had Carrie making sure we had a place to assemble and to speak and keeping the reins tight sometimes. And we had an internet service provider that was coming in and lighting up their communities. It was perfect, and it can be replicated.
The singular reason that Kansas City was selected for Connect Home and excelled in the program was because we already had a coalition convened around the issue. Most of the communities hadn't put together the necessary players to really effectuate the initiative. And so, you know, when we signed on, we were able to just plug and play. Like, okay, we've got our, you know, digital literacy trainers. We need to just, you know, figure out who can teach classes when and where. And so the library was really instrumental in going into these public housing facilities, teaching those classes, and also communicating to residents. You know, we've got a library down the street or around the corner from you where you can come and here's a schedule and we welcome you. And so we were able to really double our efforts in that way, going in, but as well as, you know, letting them know the resources that are within their reach. Another part of our plan is to really kind of expound on, you know, sharing with residents the universe of resources that are available to them. And one of the initial projects that we're working on is basically an asset mapping of points at which residents can access free Wi-Fi within, you know, a few blocks of their home. So can you explain that?
Yeah, and really, we called it the Community Learning Center Network. Had an 8-week program through the Mayor's Higher KCU program, 2 high school students, and they did a tremendous job. They created a map showing the location of, I think, 87 spaces that students could go to and access the internet and computers in a public forum. So that's libraries, community centers, some of the nonprofits like Connecting for Good, Wood Learning Center, HD Village. And through that network, what we're identifying are these gaps. They created a map that has a half-mile walking radius on that, and so if you overlay that on the Kansas City, Missouri School District, you see some good density in some neighborhoods, but a lot of gaps in other neighborhoods. We focused on the Kansas City, Missouri School District for the reasons you outlined in the introductions, that 70% of the students don't have internet access at home. So, you know, our plan has multiple means of helping people get online. The best, of course, would be to have connectivity at home and a computer. Next best is this community learning center within a half-mile walking distance of your home. So that map is available, the report's available. I will take a minute on the Coalition for Digital Inclusion. We have a Facebook page, it's Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion. We have a YouTube channel, it's Include KC, and all of our coalition meetings since about September last year are on that YouTube channel or on that Facebook page. So feel free to join that group or watch those videos and you'll see some examples of programs we've implemented.
Now, I'm curious for the mayors in the room, how many of you actually have a group of people that are talking about this issue? Is it just you working on digital inclusion initiatives? Do you have a team of people? Do you have a coalition? Because I think that's really important, is understanding the value of having, even if you have to start very small, which is exactly what we did. I mean, Google Fiber was the impetus, but it began with a small group of people that has grown over time. But I mean, these are people that are interested and engaged, and they can really help you in the work that you're trying to do. They can help you as you battle Jeff City or go, because you can tell the stories that are important, even to them, right? How you help somebody get a job, how you help the whole community come together at the library and understand and learn about these issues. You have to have a team of people who can help explain the importance to the corporations or the businesses, even in your areas or your towns, to talk about workforce ready. If somebody doesn't know how to use a computer and they don't have digital literacy skills, they can't apply for a job, even at a fast food location. So it's about workforce development. When our director, Cosby Kemper, had Cliff Illig in the library, who is the CEO of Cerner, he said he would love to hire as many people as he could from Kansas City and Missouri, but he just can't because they're not workforce ready. That's how you sell your story. That's how you sell the importance of what we're doing here. That it's about raising the entire community up so that there's jobs, there's people who are ready to take jobs.
And, you know, I implore you guys to just read through our plan. It's like 30 pages. You can read it and get bored. But as Rick said, you know, one of the primary roles of the mayor's office is that of a convener. And we are more knowledgeable than almost anybody else in the city of, you know, the scope of resources that are available to be brought to bear for any particular issue. And what we've really been trying to do is to leverage resources to, you know, have a combined effect. And, you know, in our view, you can't be a smart city if your residents don't know how to use the kiosks or are disconnected or don't see the relevancy of these things to their lives. You can't develop a workforce of the future if your residents don't know how to use a computer or don't have that connectivity. And so we're marrying our efforts between Connect Home and the Tech Card Initiative. We created a program called Digital Scholars as a part of Connect Home to say, okay, you know, workforce development organization, you've got WIO dollars and other money for paid apprenticeships for young people. And digital inclusion practitioners, you've got a need for added capacity, you don't really have the money to pay them, and the skills, you know, that they need for the job are, you know, how to refurbish a computer, triage a computer, a variety of different technical skills. And so we were able to combine Connect Home and Tech Hire with, you know, our workforce development agency's resources to provide jobs for our youth. And it's a model that can easily be replicated in other cities. And so you didn't have to come out of pocket, and everybody gains. We're also being really thoughtful about how we bring in all of our various city departments into this effort, and to make sure that digital inclusion is top of mind to the Public Works, to our Office of Innovation. You know, our Public Works Department needs to understand the connection between small cell attachments and 5G to digital inclusion. And Rick has been spearheading a lot of this efforts. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, and on the infrastructure side, you know, Public Works is going to be probably your key negotiating agent. You know, definitely bring your city attorney in. If you don't have a city attorney, hire your own private counsel to talk to these ISPs, because they have the best attorneys in the country. On engaging City Hall, though, we are now in the process of working with the State Department. So right away, our health department jumped in as a partner on a digital equity and digital inclusion programs. They have a community health improvement plan, and when you read that, they call it the CHIP. But when you read through the CHIP, it reads like a workforce development program more than it does even a health improvement program. It talks about economic mobility, it talks about education, and so our health department is involved in this effort. Then our housing department
In this year's 5-year consolidated plan that they are required to submit to HUD, they have to be addressing digital inclusion. And for years, they've been requiring developers to build broadband connectivity into their housing projects that they fund, but this plan will go further. So we're looking at more ways to show how digital inclusion really help the digital economy is part of our work. So this program we mentioned with everyone on the digital equity champions that are like when you call 311, our action center to complain about a pothole or a street light out, those staff can tell you, here's your case number. You can find out the current status of this case by going to our website for the case number and seeing that status rather than having to call back. And that reduces the calls, obviously, to our call center, but also gives them full access to what's happening in the field.
So we've been talking a lot about, the coalition's work, but kind of limited to the city to implement. Can you speak more broadly to what the coalition does and the role of the coalition?
So when the coalition started, probably about 4 years ago, the initial thing we did was we had a community summit where we invited all the nonprofits and city leaders to come, and we held workshops throughout the day and really just wanted to gauge what everybody was doing in the community, what services they were offering, what we had in terms of digital inclusion opportunities in the community already, ranging from nonprofits to churches to schools to libraries throughout our community. And then after that, we compiled all that information, just at the very beginnings of the coalition here at the library, and we did a report out to find out where are the gaps, where are the areas that we need to focus on. So since that has happened, we've had another summit which involved more national leaders who could come in and talk about Lifeline and those areas that would help benefit our community and help people understand what was going on. But then we realized, what are we going to be? Are we going to be a coalition that's just information sharing? Are we going to be an action-based coalition, which is what we're struggling with right now, determining what we want to do, because we want to be a strong voice in the community, but we also want to continue to work on the people who will work with the people who are the digital divide. So right now we meet once a month, and each month is dedicated 1 month to a set of speakers, and then the following month is what we're calling working sessions. So everybody who's in the coalition is a part of one of 4 focus areas. And so those focus areas are broadening participation, engaging people, overcoming barriers, and you remember the
I'm running.
Anyway, we have 4 focus areas that each person in the coalition is assigned to work on. And so we work in those groups while they're here working at the coalition, and those are now turning into projects that the coalition as a whole can go out and work on together so that we can use the resources of everybody in our group. So if you're a nonprofit and you have a mailing list, or you have a board of directors, or you have assets that can help the one particular project that the entire coalition is working on right now, then that's what we're going to do. So we're trying to maneuver moving forward and strengthening ourselves in this community by both being an advocacy and action group as well as information.
So one thing, go ahead.
If I could add to that, as far as the coalition goes, it's just information exchange, ideas sharing, and really making sure that all of these service providers in the city aren't seeing themselves as competitive and really fighting for funding that's a zero-sum game. But it also, when you get everybody in the room, helps us identify those gap areas where services aren't being provided, or where maybe another organization might have skills to provide those services. But I don't mean to jump ahead of your question, but on just our national engagement, where we've been able to go with these coalitions. Well, Next Century Cities was mentioned right after Google Fiber had been announced. Kansas City and a number of other cities across the country were invited to the Ford Foundation. In New York, there was a reception, a day-and-a-half meeting there, and that led to the creation of Next Century Cities. So I would strongly recommend that you take a look at that organization. They're strong advocates for municipal networks and organizing city government. So one thing cities are good at is sharing information.
I don't think we see ourselves as competitive so much as might come up sometimes, at least in this neighborhood, of the border war of economic development. We're kind of working below that because we see this as helping the residents of the region. But, and then the National Digital Inclusion Alliance that Angela leads, really another organization that came out of Kansas City Conversations. So we're happy to help connect you with those organizations and connect with what we're working on in Kansas City.
So something that we struggle with locally is that we don't have any dedicated staff specifically to digital inclusion. General fund is what it is, and so we just have to figure it out. So as the mayor's policy director, I do a variety of different things. Probably spend 15% of my time doing digital inclusion work, and I wish I had more time to devote to it, but I just don't. So I tag team with Rick, and then we work with our partners. Rick, he does a variety of different things as well. So we just kind of have to make it happen. But if you're looking for a place to house digital inclusion within your own administrations, it's your own staff, it's public works to a certain extent, but it's really your Office of Innovation, your IT professionals. And if you can't hire one dedicated staff person, you can get, a few hundred different staff people to work together on this issue. But it's important enough of an issue to, get somebody who's working on it, constantly. Otherwise, these issues will not be advanced.
So that's a good point. And my title is Assistant City Manager for Small Business and Entrepreneurship. And what brought me into the digital inclusion part of that is that digital inclusion, digital equity really is like the conversation with Claire Billy, is the basis of workforce development. And the way our plan is formulated, we're defining the path from digital inclusion to economic mobility and entrepreneurship, that you can, with today's internet, teach yourself skills online through a self-directed program that you like, and then create employment, create jobs for yourself as simple home-based businesses. So it can be led by your IT department, it could be led maybe through your housing department. It's just, I think maybe the key to finding out how a coalition would work in your town is to start with your library. Go to your library and see who they're talking to, and then pull people together just to see where, because sitting in that room, you're going to identify a need that maybe nobody else saw how to solve. That's the power that you bring as mayors.
Yeah, many of you mentioned that you're the only ones doing this work. I think it's important that you think about who's doing this work in your community already, and certainly it's the library, but there might be nonprofits, and it can be just simply meeting with a small group of people once a month or even once a week if you can get together and just begin to figure out where the gaps are in your community or what some possible goals might be for what you need to go forward in this area.
I have a question. So mayor of a small town, and this is what I know. I know that we have a fabulous school district. I know that I have the poorest city in the county with a lot of children that don't have access. The school gives them laptops, and then they have to either find some place to connect. I do have a library. I do know that the computers that are available at that library are filled almost all the time with people just for work issues trying to access. And but then now I have this new housing that's coming in, very affluent, and I know that speed is really important to them. So I have a variety of issues in 6 square miles that I need to deal with. And how do I get an overlay of what resources do I have available to me to get an overlay of what I even have available, or who's connected and who's not connected? So where do I start?
Well, you mentioned your library, so it sounds like demand is high, and you definitely have an audience that needs to be served at a higher level.
Will the service providers give me, and will they tell me where the connections are and where they're not? Can I get a map of that?
Some of them. But I think you need to be a leader in this area and just start beginning to have meetings where you invite someone from the library, invite someone from the school district, if there are neighborhood organizations that you have, you need to start bringing people together and start having the conversations about what your concerns are and who has resources or assets in the community. You won't know until you start to begin to bring some of the people together to have this conversation. If you have an affluent neighborhood that cares about speed, then maybe they'll be interested in helping put together some kind of funding that could bring in something that would support everybody, including the school or the library that desperately needs the help that you're looking for. But I just can't stress enough the importance of having the conversations. You have to bring people in and start talking about what you have and what you don't.
Yeah, the true power of the mayor's office here is that of a convener. And a couple of things that Mayor James has done is that he called all the internet service providers into a room and said, what are you going to do here? We need your help. We can't do it without you. When he gave a keynote at Tech Week, which is a convening of all the tech people in the United States, he said, we need you to take this issue on as your own. You won't have a pipeline of employees. You won't have customers for your services if folks aren't better connected. So what are you going to do as an innovator to help to fill these gaps that we have, in tech and digital literacy skills and affordability issues? So we had two folks who wanted to provide commentary. So.
Yeah, what we created is this planning model. Like I said, with 12 different modules. The online tool, which is in beta right now, takes the FCC 477 data that people talked about and localizes it for you. So it would show you by census block and block group in your town what the carriers report as provided. And then the module that talks about provider partnership kind of gives you an outline, having a conversation with them about whether that's accurate and what their future plans are. It's in beta right now, and it's going to take another client in it, but I do have all the assessment questions in writing that you could also look at, or we can look at it as a follow-up. But it is specifically to answer that question. You said that what everybody talked about was a team, bringing people together, creating a plan, and having that plan be aligned with your vision. This is just a tool that helps you do that. So I have a paper document now that does it, but the cool thing about the online tool is that it's an interactive team experience so that your team can get together to be engaged in it, and then it leverages that natural data and organizes it for you. So coming soon, running data now, and I'd be happy to share information about it.
And Kansas City is one of the beta cities that's in the pilot project that we're working on right now. So I'd also be happy to share information with you as we go through the process.
And HUD is requiring the future affordable housing developments that they have broadband. When developers come in and say, hey, we want to build whatever, we have conversations with them and say, what we want that development to look like so that it meets the needs of the community in which they want to locate. And so broadband connectivity is something that's important to you or the residents of this community, then you should feel free to stress that to those developers.
And there's an indirect way that you can gather some of the information at a more granular level that we learned about through this organization, Eliminate the Digital Divide out of North Carolina. When they were looking at it, they found all the teachers knew which kids did not have internet access at home. You could take someone to just figure out, talk to the teachers, get those lists, map it by address. You might find some interesting patterns that are going to be probably easier to solve than you might realize. You might also find it's harder, but teachers know which kids have access to home.
Right.
Yeah, I think you kind of outlined the first people you invite to your coalition. And Angela, have you raised your hand? Did you have a comment?
There's that 24/7 data coming in, and you can have that in your area, but then also to know that they're not always 100% accurate. So, yeah, grain salt kind of thing, but it might give you a good starting place for that. And then Chris is exactly right. The teachers know, the librarians know, and so being able to look at it in terms of, okay, realistically, can't solve this all right now, but what piece of it can we do? Well, we know we have an apartment complex over here, it's mostly low income. We know this street right here is mostly low income. And so you can go at those pieces because it's a bite size, we can start to get a bigger solution.
Or looking at more public Wi-Fi spaces beyond the library, that's everybody's plan is unique. We go to take the next step from where we are.
So let's say 5 more minutes if there's any more commentary from the panel or any more questions for the audience before we turn it over to our closing speaker.
I'd like to just real quick talk about community access. One of the things that we found when I was working with Rick and McClain, the ability to find other ways to get access to the community that were beyond what we've been looking at as the original plan. And we put together a community center at Morning Star, and we put together another one at Seacon.
2 churches.
2 churches. I also put in a lab at Urban Rangers, Slope Geriatric, and can't remember the name of the foundation, but somebody at 18th and Vine. So we basically went down the spine of an area that didn't have great access and had these areas where people could really walk to these community centers and get online. And it just grew out of this, but it was a great way to get access. In each of those facilities, I think one facility just had access to the building, and we had to go in and wire it, which was really humorous. And we should have kept the video of that thing. But we got the thing wired up, and I think they're serving the kids every day.
Question about the upcycling. I really do love that because I'm a huge environmentalist as well. I would think with the business community in Kansas City, is that where you got some of these?
I made, when we first started, I made a couple of phone calls to companies that I had a pretty good relationship with, and we scheduled pickups, and I sent my crew over and did it. And when we're talking to companies, because of our certification process and the auditing that we go through and all that, we can go to corporations and we can talk about reduced risk, reduced liability, and data security. Those are big advantages for us as opposed to a nonprofit that doesn't have any certification whatsoever, or it's using volunteers on the weekend. And then we have trained staff that have to do all of the repair work and refurbishing, software installation, also trained staff to do data security on the machine. And we also have to report all the data when we're doing it, so we know everything about that machine as we're raising data off of it. So corporations like that, it was a pretty easy sell really to go to them and say, this is the smart play. It's the smart play for you. It's the smart play for the community.
And the city, we're leading by example. We've got security risks. We've got to be, careful about, privacy issues. We're one of the largest employers in the city, and so by us, taking that first step and doing it, we've got more corporations that are willing to do it, and we're leaning on him to say, you need to do it. And if you don't do it, I'm going to remember that.
And I don't want to be a cheerleader. I would say also just in formulating our digital upcycling program, I met with our IT department, I met with various departments that, people told me were disposing of electronic waste, and found that, a lot of our security practices were like late 20th century practices of, paying a shredding company to shred our hard drives, and that, staff had to go out and witness these processes, and actually, we had staff who were drilling holes in hard drives, and then, like I say, paying, to have these hard drives disposed of when you use a process like Bob was talking about through an e-Stewards certified recycler, you've got the chain of
chain of custody.
Chain of custody, right? You got the chain of custody, so that your device has been secured, it's in a truck, it's in a locked cage, and then it's wiped to these DoD standards, and then you're not losing that hard drive, and that's not waste going into the environment. So we, in order to enter the agreement with Surplus Exchange to accept our surplus computer donations, and we've also added phones to that, really about all electronic devices, we had to change a piece of our code ordinances that said this had to be a competitively bid process to allow exceptions for our purchasing manager to enter an agreement with a nonprofit that's e-Stewards certified. So we took that agreement to City Council, and these are, these are great things to take to your council because they're supporting the community, and it's one way to show how you're
involved. So getting those computers. Now, Bob, I think, is also, he's expanded that program. Where we are today is trying to reach out to the corporate community to join us in digital upcycling, but also in employee volunteer programs and then corporate charitable giving programs. Every major corporation has some kind of a charitable foundation, showing them the relevance of contributing to digital inclusion efforts as workforce development, that we're seeing some value in that. But like McClain said earlier, when we go to coalition meetings, initially it was all, the city's got a blank checkbook, write us a check for our program, and it's just not the case. But what we can do is help demonstrate to the corporate community why this is a valuable contribution to make. So in Kansas City, when Google Fiber came into town, they went to the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation, the existing charitable distribution organization, has been in town for years. Brought a few companies in, I think Cerner was one, and Google as well, 2 or 3 others, to create $1 million digital inclusion fund. That's only 4 companies out of a city this size. So we could easily, throw the gauntlet out there, $10 million digital inclusion fund in Kansas City that corporations could raise. I think that would be great.
I would just wrap up by saying that I think the mayor and the planning board have done an excellent job bringing some really wonderful national resources here today. Karen Carrie from NTIA and Angela Siefer from NTIA and Amy Olson from Shelby. Our library director, Crosby Kemper, is now the chair of the Shelby Coalition. These are all have great connections in Washington, D.C. and can be a voice for you and what you're working on in your communities. We also care very much about the work that you're doing, and we're willing to offer any kind of advice or support. You can call the library, you can call Crosby, any one of us at the city to help answer any questions you might have. I just don't want you to feel like you're in this alone. It can seem very overwhelming, and we've had a lot of support and a lot of people who really care about this issue and have dug in and done it. But it has not been easy, so I don't want it to look like it's been easy here, but we also want you to know that we're here to support what you're doing. So please use all of the resources that you've heard here today.
And with that, I'd like to invite up our closing speaker, thought leader on digital inclusion and all things equity nationally, Crosby.
So I know I'm eating lunch, so trying to make this brief. We are problem solvers here in Kansas City. Election there, and very change for Metro. Very good neighbors. Currently 77 degrees in August in Kansas City. We resolved global warming. I was just in Santa Fe, and they created the opera, The Revolution of Steve Jobs, an opera about Steve Jobs. And there's an aria in the opera called One Device, in which the one device will solve all of your problems. And I think we all know that is the hype of the tech world, that the devices will solve our problems. And I think everything we've heard today shows that the device is a wonderful tool, whether it's a laptop or a desktop or a tablet or a phone. But it's a tool that you have to learn how to use. And in Kansas City, we had greatness thrust upon us from the mayor, his counterparts in KCK, were able to convince Google to come here. And you could, Sergey Brin put a piece up on YouTube, which they may have taken down by now, having looked lately, in which he said, this will change the world. What we're going to do in Kansas City will change the world. It changed our world for sure. I'm not sure that when the engineers actually got here, explained what they were going to do, their demonstration was how fast you were going to download movies. I'm not sure that's necessarily life-changing. But it did make us focus. The mayor, the school district, the library, and a lot of other organizations focus on the digital divide, focus on what we can do with and for these connections, the broadband connection, the gigabit connection, but also focus on on what is, I think, the key question of our time, which is essentially equity, fairness in the world, how the nation, how the state, how the city, how your neighborhoods, how our corporations and our civic leadership deal with the divides in this country. We all are aware of that every day. Read the front page of the newspaper any day, whatever tweets you're getting. What the tweets? No. We know how important this is, and the library recognized this early on. We've been in a place where the digital divide has always been crossed. When I came to the library 12.5 years ago, the thing that I noticed is at 9 a.m. On a Saturday morning when we open, or any holiday, and sometimes even school days, the long line outside of the library before we open of teenage males, minority teenage males, what 30 years ago would have been the least likely group to be in the library, were all waiting to get in the library, and waiting to get in to use our computers. That's still true today, 25 years later, for me. We are the place where the digital divide is being crossed. So we were thrust into this by Mayor, thank you, and Google. And we've been involved in Connect Ed and Connect Home, and every national connection process is led me to be the chair of Shelby, Mayor Robinson here as part of our team. We're one of the leading advocates for questions of digital equity in Washington D.C. inside the Beltway, particularly based on anchor institutions. And one of the things I want to mention to you, and a couple of these statistics have floated around, I mentioned one. In the school district, they rolled out the one-to-one laptop program, not Chromebooks program, and found out not only did not only 70% of the kids didn't have a connection at home, 40% of the kids in Kansas City school district, this is true of urban school districts around the country, 40% of them don't have more than one address during the school year. And then we've had Matthew Desmond in the library who wrote the book Evicted, and it is about evictions in America from non-public housing, private housing, which is extraordinary. So there are a million people a year evicted from homes. And we can go into the economic reasons, the family reasons, the drug and alcohol, all the problems behind that. But the real problem with the library, the schools, and the city, the community needs to address is what happens to the kids. And the point I'm making here with those statistics is that anchor institutions, schools, of course, the library, and then all the other organizations, community organizations you've heard about here, Connecting for Good, Literacy Kansas City in our case, Lincoln List, our local investment corporation, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Y, etc. We all need to come together around this problem, because it's a problem that's not solved by device. It's a problem that's not solved by connection. It's a problem that has to be solved with training, with understanding, with help, with access to various forms of information that come before and with the device and the connection. And it's the most important thing. We have our city council, city organization, mayors very involved in this. We have a program called Casey Rising. It comes originally from the Working Center, a working institution. And it's all about human capital, about development of human capital is the most important thing for economic development, obviously, but also for solving these equity problems we have in this country, inequality that we have in this country. And there's no question that computer access, the internet, is a huge part of that. We're creating a different and new and deep divide if we don't work on that. So our commitment, and again, is to take what the city's already done. The mayor has been one of the, Mayor James has been one of the great cheerleaders for this, one of the great leaders, and has committed time, effort, and money from the city to this. And we have this digital equity plan from the city. Our next step as the library is to take that digital equity plan and to implement So we're going to work with Shelby and with all of our local organizations, all the organizations that I mentioned you've heard about, to create a community broadband plan that is actually about creating a community learning center, a phrase that we worked on with the city. It's in their digital equity plan. A community learning center that will be within walking distance of every child in the city, where they can get training, homework help, early childhood and family literacy services, coding and gaming, story times, books, libraries, volunteers, where they can encounter a digital curriculum from early childhood to postdoctoral to lifelong learning that will be available, that will have support from human being, and that can be truly transformative beyond the actual technology. Because the real technology is the technology of learning. It's what libraries are all about, and schools are all about. It's what our mayor has been a particular leader in. And so I'd just like to leave you with that thought, that the future is not in the technology of devices or connections. It's in the human technology of learning. And the cities that will advance and the cities that will do the right thing for their citizens are the cities that understand and promote that. And I think that's all of you. And I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Mayor James in particular for his leadership. Have a great day.
Well, before we cut everybody loose and you're munching on your own with this today, I heard my name mentioned more times than it probably should have. The real work is being done by McClain and Rick and Crosby and Carrie and Bob and others who really are on the front lines of getting into people's homes, getting into businesses, getting things done, teaching, working, refurbishing, gathering, all of the things that are necessary. And in doing that, what we're trying to do isn't just to make sure that everybody has a computer, but it's to make sure that we're doing everything we can to provide people with the tools that they need and the skills that they need to hopefully enhance the quality of their life, because that's what we do, right? That's what mayors do. We recognize here today, either explicitly or implicitly, that we can't count on the state. They're too busy training for the federal level. And we can't count on the federal government. They're too busy trying to figure out where exactly they are and what they think, and nothing's getting done. The things that need to be done on a day-to-day basis are done by the people in this room, and the staffs and other mayors around the state and other mayors around the country. We are the ones that provide day-to-day services. So hopefully this is giving you some insights and some opportunities to get some information that you may need in order to provide this type of service. So with that being said, I'll end on the note of thank you for being here on that. But one last business thing, as we discussed very briefly at the reception for Lila down in Herman, and I want to thank the mayor. He was a tremendously gracious host. You know, I was told initially that all the wine would be free. That turned out not to be the case. But I drink like it was anyhow. Thank you, Mayor. That was good work there. But we discussed briefly the organizational structure of the organization. We're still in our infancy, but many have talked about adding some structure to it. One thing I want to make sure is that I'm out of office in 2 years. I want to make sure that this thing has that continues on and on as long as you want it. So we did contact the lawyer. We have a lawyer that's Lars from here, Polsinelli, that's going to do all of the IRS work to create an organization that fits the proper role. I think it's 501c4. But the bottom line